To order, hopefully some people will trickle in. Here comes Matthew. All right, Mr. Rowe. So we got at least three.
Not important, but something.
Yeah. So, building code update. You will see there is a letter from Jason Van Osdal. Am I saying that right?
Sure.
Okay.
No one here's going to disagree.
Right? They're from Veenstra and Kim out of West Des Moines. For the public, just so they know, whatever it was, 2 or 3 years ago, we had them come down, talk. We had a couple meetings talking to landlords, talking to businesses, builders, etc. And let's just say there were some differences of opinion. And so really what he's requesting, in order for him to really put any time and attention on this, he really wants a united group from the council, that everybody's on board to move this forward. So I think one of the questions that we might want to talk about is what questions do you need answered to move forward, or what questions do you have at this point? Anything in particular? And it did go to property committee at one time, correct, Doug? And did anything more specific come out of that other than asking Jason to come?
Just for this, because I know we can't afford to hire someone to do it. And how long is the code? 1,000 pages?
Yes.
So we'd adopt it all and have someone who can do it, or
And it's true that you have to do both residential and commercial together,
this guy wants that.
but you don't have to, I guess is my
I don't
question.
know, we can ask him that question.
I would like to know that.
He wants the business, right?
Sure, of course he
But we
does.
may not be required by law to do both.
Yeah. I think what was communicated last time is that basically there's no discrimination. You know, it includes everybody, no matter what. But I also, you know, and they gave, and as I recall, they gave us sample pricing, if you will, based off of some other clients they had. But again, ultimately, that was, you know, something we never got to, is to talk about pricing. So and I don't even know if I should bring it up at this point, but.
Well, I think that you guys can, Paul's not here, but Elizabeth, I think the idea is to have them come and do the work we need done for the city at basically no cost, because they'll recoup their expenses through fees. So we don't have to pay
Yeah, it would just be a flow through, basically.
flow through rate.
Yeah, we're not trying to make money on it.
No.
But what I recall on like a commercial building, for example, seems to me was like about 1% of the cost. And I think there was some pushback from some people.
Well, they already have their own mechanisms in place, so we
Correct.
have to overcome that. I don't know. I guess we could do that. They're not gonna be happy about it.
Yeah. Well, what's the consensus of the I mean, does everybody that's here want to move forward with this?
Yeah,
Or
let them,
do you have a sense of that?
I want them to come visit and tell us, answer questions and tell us what they can and cannot do.
Okay.
Yes,
What kind of track they will.
You want to move forward with building codes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Terry, do you want to
Well,
move
we
forward
approve
with
the
building codes?
I do.
Mr. Rowe?
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose so.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what do you need from us in terms of like a motion, or are we?
No, because we can't do a motion. But
No, right.
I think what we're looking for is what questions do you need answered
I think probably
before we move forward?
just
more
based on
specifically.
hearing about last time, the biggest concern was on the commercial scope. And the specialty nature of so many of the businesses in town, you know, that they have machines that are produced out of Germany and, you know, very specific electric. And, you know, if if they have their own internal mechanism, can that exempt certain commercial entities out? Residential, 1,000%, we need a building code in enforcement, because it's, I mean, as a landlord myself, there's a lot of landlords out there that do a really poor job of keeping their places up to code, and there's no one to enforce it, so.
As I recall, when we were talking about it at the property committee meeting, somewhere I recall that one of the issues was somebody who can actually do the inspections to make sure that it's up to code, and the lead time on that, and how that was also a contentious issue previously when we discussed it.
Yeah,
Is
you're
that
right.
jogging your memory too? And so
Yeah.
we talked about who can do it. I thought we maybe floated some ideas about somebody actually getting licensed to do building inspections here, or finding a resource that's close.
Right.
And so, and I think maybe that was one of the issues, especially with commercial and manufacturing, was that it just took so long to
Did
get an
they-
inspector.
Did they tell us that they had people around the state who could be dispatched? Say someone lives in Washington, could go to Pleasant or Fairfield or Tomwa and what have you, and works for them, but they live in other various parts of the state and can be dispatched to a certain small town to have some inspections done.
Maybe that's something we need more information about.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
How do they, what's their lead time? What's their,
So their nearest inspector would be out of Albia.
okay.
On the discussion, I have some questions for, I want to narrow down on Terry's concern on the commercial side of things, but I think one of the things that has changed in the last 3 years is the dramatic decrease in state officials. You know, pre-COVID, it was not that difficult to get an electrical inspection done or to get a state building official. I think our fire chief is not here, but even how difficult it is to get a state fire inspection after a fire has happened. I mean, even after the emergency is difficult now because of how much reduction in state staff there has been. So to that point, I guess I would be kind of curious if the commercial side is still feeling like the city is the slow people, for lack of a better question.
I
You
haven't
know,
had any conversations with anybody. I just
Right.
know that those
That-
were the concerns.
Yes,
at
and
the time.
absolutely,
Yeah.
I agree, those were the concerns. But we also have people who get mad when we don't return their call in an hour, so I'm kind of just wanting to
Sure.
understand the very specific part of that question, because there's gonna be things that we maybe can accommodate, and there might be some things that it's like, that's industry standard, your expectations are too high. But I also think that the state is not providing the services that they were 5 years ago or even 3 years ago. That might change things a little bit, whereas before it was like, oh, well, it's easier to get a state inspector down. Well, even if we're bringing someone in from Albia and they only come once a week, that still might be faster than what the state can do now. And so that would be something, to kind of get some more information on.
So it's almost like a private company could replace the potential for state inspections that are already required. Is that what you're indicating?
Yes, and I don't have the notes from it, but my understanding is on the commercial side of things, the chances of getting an electrical inspection are very slim to none. I mean, basically they're issuing permits with I don't even want to say it, but my understanding is that it's very hard to get electrical inspection and that there's lead times on that, so.
So
I have not
essentially it
personally
could
experienced it, so I need.
help them.
It could help them,
Okay.
and that is something that, if you were able to talk to the commercial side and kind of see if they've seen it being harder to get state inspections, and then I can get clarified on, what would be the lead time in this situation. I think that can maybe those two things are going to start to work themselves out because of how much state staff decrease there's been.
Okay.
And why is that?
What?
People retiring? What's the deal with state staff? Or they just let people go?
Department of whatever Doge is.
The downsizing?
Yes. Yeah, and the rearranging. I don't know. I mean, I don't have any statistics on how many state employees have retired and resigned in the last, 5 years, but there's been a lot of downsizing. More, what do they call it, where you don't fill it after a job has been, after somebody's left. It's been a lot of that. Thank you.
And are there other companies besides Veenstra and Kim?
I have talked to a couple other engineering firms that we work with regularly, and they do not offer these services. We did have somebody, Doug, we had somebody that was working on the building in the downtown, but they just did inspections. You talked with the company that we hired to do the inspection.
Doug Hattering?
No, not the appraisal, but the inspection.
Jay.
I don't remember, but I think they just handled inspections,
Yes.
but they didn't handle the permitting.
Yes.
Like, they didn't handle the administrative, like, getting us all set up.
Well, we would do, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
We would do the permitting here, right?
We will need some guidance in getting set up.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then we would do it, that's the expectation, right?
The permits would get turned in here, but they still review the plans. We're not,
Okay.
we're not licensed to even review
see.
the plans. Yeah. Yeah.
When you say they, you mean the state?
No, like, so, and I wish I had better answers, but I will try and get some better answers now. My understanding of the typical building permit process when you have building codes is that they, right now people just submit a zoning permit and we review that here. They don't, sometimes they'll send us floor plans, sometimes they won't. When you have a building codes, they're gonna send you your entire set of plans with your walls and your structural, the spacings of your 2x4s and all your electrical circuits. And so then the person who does some places, the person who does the field inspection is also the person who does the plan review. Some cities are set up where they have 2 people who do that. But you still have to be licensed in building code inspection, for lack of a better term. You have to be licensed in building codes in order to review the plans, because, I mean, I can't look at a wall, a set of plans for walls and tell you whether that meets the building code.
So it's remotely possible, maybe that's not the right word, but we could hire somebody in-house, potentially.
I got you, Bubba.
Potentially, yes.
I mean, if they were a licensed
Yes.
person,
But there
if that's an option.
are a lot of licenses they would have to have.
So
Yes,
we got
there
about
is.
15 minutes before we
I
start.
believe
The
there's
I-
4 tests.
Is the likely,
Did you want to hang it?
how likely is it to find one person with all those skills?
Okay.
I don't know about how many people are out there, but when we were doing our little bit of analysis, you're looking at a minimum of $80,000 for that person
To have all the skills?
to have the ability to do that, yeah.
But ostensibly, would they also be able to work for other city, like, no, they would just be a city employee?
If-
Well, I mean, I
if
guess
that's
it
what
depends
we-
on how we
yes,
structured it, right?
exactly.
Like the individual from Albia, if,
Right.
You know,
They would
so
be,
like some
it would
kind
be
of
a
public
contract, and
private
so they would
kind of
work through multiple.
right, okay.
Yeah, but we could also, if we went to trying and hiring an individual, I think that I would want some guidance maybe from Allers or someone on the steps, because, we would want council action to approve the building codes before we hire someone, because that person's gonna want some reassurance. But then we're also gonna make sure that that person's gonna be able to set up their procedures in order to do things.
I have a question, and I'm not gonna direct it at you, Melanie, because I don't know if you know the answer, but feel free to speak up, but I'm kind of just musing here. But going back to the issue with like commercial buildings and manufacturing specifically, I wonder if there are, and John, maybe you have some ideas about this, but I wonder if there are cities who have building codes that pertain to everybody, but if you have a commercial building or you are involved with manufacturing and you are held to different standards, there's like some kind of waiver, like if you have your own different inspection, which is like a basically similar standard to what we're requiring. Like, does that ever happen, John, or anybody? Does anyone know?
Carve-outs.
Pardon?
A carve-out.
Yeah.
Kind of a carve out, but also more like they can just waive our inspections if they already have their own inspection.
Right.
We do have some of that in town.
Okay.
We've got some of the plants that have people that are of equal qualification and certification as the state inspectors.
Okay.
And in those situations, some of them cut their own deals with the state inspector as far as having a plant inspection and having the persons that are of that level of training communicate. I
So that would be a
recall
possibility.
previously, Agri-Plastics had 2 or 3 people that were at that level, and I know that the state had different things that were actually pointing at Agri-Plastics as an example of the correct way to do things. So, not to say that if we had an in-house certified electrician that could do the same inspecting as a state qualified person or their qualified person, you could have different choices, but, excuse me, okay, there we go. Yeah, we do have some of that in town.
Because I guess I'm trying to figure out, and I don't know because I wasn't here when we were discussing building codes previously, but if it's a question of like the lead time to get an inspector, or a question of we're held to all these other higher standards, you know, under code, OSHA, or whatever it may be, that, you know, it seems ridiculous to also have to go through the building code inspection. So I don't know if there's,
Yeah. Yeah, I think it seems like there needs to be a certain requirement to
Right.
prove to the city.
Right.
And then you can be exempt, right? So, and maybe that's a discussion with the manufacturers?
Well, and, I mean, you know, Mount Pleasant has building codes, Atumwal, all of them have a lot of manufacturers that we can certainly ask them what they do. And I think that's a good question that we can ask Jason. I wanted him to be able to be semi-prepared for some of your questions so that he can be useful on his trip down here, rather than all of his answers be, well, I'll get back to you. So these are some good talking points.
I certainly think that that will be the biggest question and the biggest, voice
Yeah.
that we hear from, so.
What other cities does this company work in? Our size, I mean.
Oh,
Do
at
they?
one point I sent you, as chair of property, a list of all of those, but I don't know if I have them with me.
All right, no, that's
Said
okay,
that
but
when had
we
our
know it.
committee meeting.
So they would have experience. I mean, they know what questions we're going to ask. I anticipate that they would already have a lot of answers ready for us. Because they have experience in that area, but maybe I'm
They
wrong.
often come into cities that that want building codes or already have them. They are not necessarily getting in on the
Ground floor.
ground floor, and that is some of the difference. I mean, they're not normally in here on the decision of whether we include commercial or residential. So
Right.
Okay.
yeah.
Right, and maybe that's not a question for them, maybe I could just do my own research on Google or AI.
So Paul, as you know, as you're getting settled in there, would you like to move forward with building codes
Yes.
in general, as a
Yes.
general statement? I'm not
Yes.
asking you to vote, I'm just
Yes.
saying as a general, that's where you'd like to go down that path.
Yes.
So that's one of the things that Jason from Beanstrance Kim wanted, basically a united council in that area before he came back and discussed.
Okay. Yeah.
So-
Yeah. For sure.
What other questions can we give Melanie that we might be interested in? well. Any thoughts, any additional thoughts, Melanie?
One of the things that the structure of the agreement that they are proposing, and I don't know if this is the only type of agreement they do now or if this is unique to Fairfield, but basically he said, well, you know, B&K is not going to be the building permit police. We would still need to have somebody local, either that is providing things on the front end as far as educating people as far as when they need them, and then also driving around saying, you know, not seeing someone's permit posted, like, hey, if you want to get your insurance to sign off on your house, you're going to need a permit through the city. This is how you contact them. So they're not going to be the boots on the ground, so to speak, except for the inspection. That we would still need a staff person to take care of that.
Well,
So
thank you for
is-
volunteering for that, Melanie. Sorry, Doug.
Do you think there's enough work to justify a full-time position?
Without having a inspection,
Well, the person that we have boots on the ground here in Fairfield that we would need.
just being the building permit police, no. It would, I mean, I think our code compliance discussion, all of our other discussions,
Well, then could it be married to a code compliance officer position?
well, it could be joined with a position not necessarily married to. That would be a little awkward in the office. Sorry.
So we could further discuss that, which,
Why?
I think it's against our handbook.
Nepotism.
Yeah, nepotism, yeah.
I think that may be also more on our agenda for the work session, so we could pick that up again there.
Code compliance, not nepotism, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yes, right. No, so, okay, any other additional questions? Okay, with that, we have about 5 minutes until council starts, so let's just take a break, 5-minute break, and we will come back. going to call the meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Toohill,
Yes.
Esti,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Kness.
Yes.
Rowe.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Council, any changes to the agenda tonight? You will notice under committee and board reports, property committee is there with a star. It was omitted on Friday, so Rebecca added it this afternoon. Doug, do you want to give a report, or you want to wait till you're done with?
I'm willing to wait. You guys want to add in
Okay.
this time?
Yeah. Okay. So we'll just hold off on that because I know you're not quite done
We
with.
just got started.
Yes. Okay. Let's move on to the consent agenda. Approval of the minutes of, excuse me, the September 8th, 2025 council meeting. Approval of the September 12th, 2025 payroll in the amount of $193,460.71. Acceptance of the Carnegie Historical Museum minutes from June and July. Acceptance of the library board minutes. Approval of ACH payment to the Department of Revenue in the amount of $962.64. Approval of total claims in the amount of $1,162.03. And we had 5 claims over $75,000. The first one to Christner Contracting for the fire station of $353,120.89. EBS, which is our insurance premiums, $80,541.05. French Reniker, $83,033.30 for engineering services. Phi Excavating, $144,752.80 for Sunrise Trail. And WM Corporate Services, which is waste management, for garbage collection of $82,641.76.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, and moved by Gandy, second by Flournoy to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, please call the roll.
Gandy,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Esti,
Yes.
Kness,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Okay, great. So we're going to move on to public forum appearances, and I forgot to mention this during when we were talking about changes to the agenda. I would like to move Billy Hunter up behind Cassidy Patton, so we get these 3 out of the way, and then the rest has to do with all the same thing. So if there's no objection to that, and before we start, and this will be repeat for some people. But each person will have 5 minutes. We do have a timer up here. And when you come up, we do like to hear your name and the ward that you live in. The council is looking for new information. I already know that there's a couple things, or at least I saw one, that is repeat of what we've heard. We are going to allow you to speak, but just know that you can be very brief. Please address the council, not anybody out into the crowd. And council, I ask you to let them speak their full 5 minutes if they take it, and then if you need to ask questions, you may at that time. To those seated, we ask that you not call out questions or comments because it's disruptive. And so I just appreciate your protocol on that. This is a business meeting, so we try to keep things, moving along. And again, I'm always asking everyone to bring their better selves here, including us, and that includes no personal attacks on other people. And as I say, at the end of the day, we're all citizens and neighbors. We're trying to do the right thing for everybody and follow, law and mitigate risk. And, we can all agree to disagree, but we need to be civil to each other. And also, I'm asking the council to allow me to give you the floor before speaking, so we're not talking over each other or interrupting. I appreciate that too. So with that, let's get started. Paul Stokstad, I believe, he is here. Yes. And he's going to talk to us quickly about the piano again for Petra Park.
What we have is a requested phone call. I do have the website up Paul Gandy asked for a phone call, so I'm going to call the. My name is Antonis Achalink from Newton Brown Urban Design, New York. He's a representative for the manufacturer in the U.S. I'm calling right now.
Hello, Paul.
Antonio, so I'm going to field some questions from our Chamber of Commerce and have you speak to them.
Yes.
Any questions? You had questions about the piano or anything you wanted to hear?
Yeah, is there one installed nearby in the state of Iowa?
What's the closest installation in the U.S.?
The closest in the sense of distance?
Yes.
And from your location?
Yes, right here in Iowa.
Yeah, that's a little bit. So we have on the East Coast, we have 2 installed. We have one in operation, in execution now. That will be in Miami. The other one is in Pittsburgh, and the other one is in Houston.
Okay, so that's obviously Iowa. We'd be the first.
Yeah.
There were some questions about the piano musically. Any comments from performers on the quality of the piano?
Mm-hmm.
Any comments from performers on the quality of the sound?
Yes. I do have a statement from David Sancius. He is an early member of the Bruce Springsteen band, and he was honored with a piano in the little village called Belmar in New Jersey. David Sancius is also an inductee in the Rock and Roll of Fame. He stated that the piano was very easy to play. He, of course, knows the difference between a hammer and string piano, but also he plays a lot of electronic pianos. As you know, the piano keyboard is a Yamaha fully all-weather protected keyboard, and he said that the touch, the response was pretty direct, and the sound through the Roland and the amplifier was very natural. And what he also appreciated in his statement was that he could set the amplifier in a good way, because if you are outdoors and you have more, let's say, traffic nearby, or you have a huge crowd, you want to set certain mid-tones or the volume differently, and that is all possible with this piano and the electronics on board.
So there's a controlling app that does all that?
Yes, the controlling app is, let's say, for volume, the equalizer, you can turn it on and off. That is basically what the remote is doing, and it is monitoring if the piano is active, in the sense of if someone is playing.
So we could turn it off at night if we wanted, for sound reasons.
Yes.
Certain time of night.
Correct. You can do that manually, and you can do that in a loop. So you can basically set for every day of the week when the piano turns on, or when you want to have it shut down.
Instead of volume, it'd be like for public use, and another volume for performance.
Absolutely. The public cannot alter the volume. What normally is done is that due to the surroundings, for example, at one location, I've seen almost all the location, only one I didn't see, but let's say one location was in a park, and there was a certain need for till where do you want to hear the piano. So we just did a test, and we could set that in, we call it the management system, that is this remote system. So we could put it exactly the right volume. But again, you can alter the volume through the module connection. So the park manager or someone who is, let's say, in charge of the piano,
Great,
then
thanks.
can do that manually.
So thanks so much. I think that's our time. Unless there's any final question.
One quick question, is there a way you can
Go the volume
see
on
the camera? I know you're on the website, is there a way you can see the piano?
Yeah, just click
Well,
on.
it's much better sound than what we had before.
I mean, I did my previous presentation, but it's on their website, which is cadenza piano.
Better.
Cadenza-piano.org. Cadenza, C-A-D-E-N-Z-A.
Did we see it the last time?
Actually, you can click on it in the website.
May I ask what's
Also
the,
on YouTube, you will find several, and I can also send links if you want to have some links.
Well, yeah, there's a
Okay.
shot. There's a shot of the piano.
what's the projected lifespan?
Is there any lifespan on the instrument?
I think that's a very good question. If you consider that project concrete shell, casing, and so on, think about 10 to 15 years at least.
As opposed to the wooden pianos, which of course decay.
The wooden piano will not hold for 3 months, so
Outside,
that's not fair to compare because it is not built for outdoors. Wooden piano with hammer and strings is not for outdoor use.
Of course.
And I can tell you, especially salt spray, sunlight, rain, dust, because that's another
Corn
thing.
sweat.
Yeah, there are a lot of you cannot
Let's bring the highway in.
I would not compare it with a hammer and string piano because
great.
that's not fair.
Thank you.
Okay.
Are we done?
Last questions? Alrighty.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Success.
Okay, next up is Cassidy Patton, and she is from CETA. And I wanted her to come and talk a little bit about Kratom, which is a substance that is now showing up in our community. When we had Mr. Jermaine Galloway here this spring, AKA Tall Cop, he talked about Kratom, plus other things that you can get in the drugstore. So I just want her to educate the community a little bit, and so go ahead.
Okay. Like she said, I'm Cassidy Patton. I'm a certified prevention specialist with CETA Behavioral Health and Treatment Services. Jefferson County is one of my 10. I've been in this position for about 5 years. And I work specifically with the state opioid response grant with IHHS. So just some quick information. So it's a plant within the coffee family, indigenous to like Southeast Asia, New Guinea, some places like that. Traditionally, it was used, people would brew like Kratom tea, and they would use that in place of like coffee, or in my generation, an energy drink. So the interesting thing about Kratom is that it can act as a stimulant or as an opioid, depending on how much you are taking. So 5 grams of the raw plant material, and that piece is important because a lot of this is manipulated, so you can't count it as raw material. Will give you that stimulant-like effect. 10 to 15 grams, it can start to act as more of an opioid, so it might like have some mild pain relief, marketed as helping people to relax, things like that. 15 plus grams, it can offer sedation properties.
Excuse me, do you mean milligrams or grams?
Grams.
15 grams in a dose? Okay.
So right now it is fully legal in Iowa, but it's not regulated in any kind of way because it is a supplement, so the FDA doesn't regulate it yet.
Have you ever heard of that?
No.
What is, I guess, more concerning is a manipulation of Kratom, which is called 7-hydroxymitragynine. And the FDA recently, in July, put out like a warning to different businesses that were selling these products, saying it's not safe for consumption, there's no reason for consumption. So this is mitragynine, which is what Kratom is. It's artificially enhanced with unregulated concentrations of synthetic 7-hydroxymitragynine. So it's all synthetic, it's lab made, it's not natural at all, and it's up to 50 times more potent than unaltered Kratom. And it can even be up to 10 times stronger than morphine. So this is where we're going into some issues. So because of the synthetic properties of it, it can attach to opioid receptors, and it has the potential for causing respiratory distress like an opioid would. Another issue with these products, that they're often called 07 products. In Iowa, at least, you can order them online, and they are very much marketed, in my opinion, towards younger generation. Some of the products, one is called an Ultra Mix, and it looks like a Crystal Light packet, if you would. The ones that I'm looking at right now are called K-Bomb. That's the name of the company. And there's like an orange flavor and then a berry flavor. And you mix it into water like you would any kind of drink packet. The problem with a lot of these products, including this one, is the drink packet is actually 2 servings, but it doesn't state that very well on the packaging, so it can be very misleading. We have K-Bomb gummies, and they literally look like fruit snacks. And again, there are multiple servings per little gummy. There's one that looks like a little 5-hour energy drink, if you will, and again, multiple servings in that little like 2 ounces of liquid. 7O tabs is another issue, and those are, this is the only product that blatantly says 5 tablets, 10 servings. So that would, connect the dots, half as a serving. However, in their legal disclaimers and warnings, it says 1/4 is a serving size. So again, on their website, it's contradictory to what it says on the product. Other issues with Kratom, when it's being misused at least, and I do not want to be giving anybody any kind of medical or legal advice with this. Do as you will. So in Iowa specifically, there have been a couple of attempts to outlaw it. Other states have it as a Scheduled 1 narcotic already. So it was in February and March. There was a couple movements to make it, let me make sure I'm reading this right, yeah, to make it a Schedule 1 drug. That did not happen. Currently, Iowa City is also trying to do a ban within their city limits. Reason being is just because it is classified as a chemical of concern with the FDA right now due to the potential for dependence, addiction, and overdoses. If we look at the profile of people who use Kratom often, about 59% of the people also have some sort of a substance use prior to. At the MAC clinic that I work at personally, people we see coming in who are using methadone to taper off of opioids are also using Kratom.
Great. Thank you. So what I'm hoping is Cassidy can also come down another time and have, we'll do a meeting like at the library, open it up to the community, be able to ask questions. One thing that when Jermaine was here, he said, if you're going to try to outlaw anything in your community, start with Kratom. And so I did some poking around a couple months ago looking at any ordinances, and what I found was it is controversial, and some communities have had trouble getting it, an ordinance passed. So anyway, that's just, again, we just wanted to give you a high level, introduce it, and hopefully there'll be more information coming soon for the broader community. But,
just one quick question, if I may.
Yeah.
Mayor. So do you know if it's being sold here in town?
Go ahead.
Yes.
Probably,
it is.
Almost all the counties that I cover have at least one place that sells it.
Right. And so there are cities who have worked on banning it within their city limits.
Specifically in Iowa City, and they started that process in 2024. And then, like I said, in February and March of 2025, the state overall tried to. I think in Illinois, I believe it's completely banned or banned within several cities. And then a couple of Nebraska, there are local bans. I'm trying to think of like the ones that are kind of close to us. So it is banned in several places now, and a few years ago it really wasn't hardly at all. So
Thank you. I'm sorry, did you say Iowa City was successful or unsuccessful?
it's an ongoing process. Right now, the big thing that Iowa is also doing is pushing for the Kratom Consumer Protection Act, which would just regulate everything. So there wouldn't be Kratom products being sold with the 7-hydroxymitragynine, which is like the chemical that we're worried about because that's the one that's attaching to opioid receptors.
And that's a synthetic one, right?
Yes. Yep.
So
Problem with that approach is you just change one atom on it and it's now legal.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's hard to control those things.
Yeah, and like I said, the FDA did put out a broad warning where they sent out letters and things like that to different places that were selling the 7-hydroxymitragynine because that's a no-no everywhere.
So I have seen signs for it, and I did see a report, somebody reported on Facebook that they got really sick. They requested it in like I think a tea or something like that.
Sorry, I'm probably not supposed to keep talking. There was a pretty big lawsuit that happened after I believe it was a man in Knoxville overdose, and the autopsy showed that mitragynine, so what Kratom is, toxicity was the cause of his death, and so his parents sued the shop that he bought it from because of the false advertisement. So that happened fairly recently in Iowa too. If anyone wanted to look that up.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Billy Hunter.
I'm Billy Hunter in disguise.
I'm Jennifer Hamilton.
Hi. Thank you for having us here. We're just here to let you know that Fairfield Cares has been busy, and we're hosting an event on the 4th of October at the Sondheim Center in the theater with the new head of the Iowa AARP. His name is Michael Wagler, and it'll be an opportunity for us to hear how he's visioning AARP, and then us giving him our feedback on what we would like to see him be focusing on in terms of elder services and concerns. So we're letting you know that this is happening, hoping you'll take and spread these around. We have extras if you need them. And then the other thing is we're very excited about this as Fairfield Cares, as we talked about before I came here and spoke with you before about the Helpful Village, which is this beautiful computer platform that connects people with need in their home with volunteers to be able to come and help them. We have actually finally been able to get this thing up and running. It was a real labor of love. And we are up and running, and it's working, and it works really well. People are getting help for all kinds of volunteer level support. And so that's what this brochure is about. And again, we're just passing these around and just wanted you to know that we're doing that. So that's it. Do you have any questions for us?
If there are people looking for services, I remember fielding some calls about like snow removal.
Right.
You know, is
So-
that something that they can go to the Fairfield Helpful Village?
Right, so if you become a member, so the idea is that you become a member, and then that membership then opens up your access to the volunteer list, which does include, and this is something we'll be developing over the next months, but we'll be including support like that, yes.
Great. Any other questions?
I'm kind of curious. I have one more question, sorry.
Sure.
So the AARP Iowa director, I guess, if there was one thing that you were going to tell people to let them know, like what kind of information may be shared or something that a lot of people don't know, and I know I'm putting you on the spot, is there something that you would like kind
About
of...
the AARP?
Yeah, about the
him?
AARP director who's going to be speaking, or, you know, if there are specific programs that people maybe don't know about. Or
I
just
think it's to understand what AARP actually does provide for retired people in terms of services and access to discounts on things and that sort of thing, but also I feel more important advocacy in policy development. And they are a very powerful lobbying force, and so they need to hear from us what it is that we are needing. So I see this as sort of like a town hall type of thing, although he will be speaking, and he's a wonderful speaker, really delightful person, really great. I think people will enjoy him very much.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Good luck
Thanks.
with, hope you
Thank
have a
you.
good, a lot of people there. Okay, next up is Ed Hipp.
I'm excited to be here tonight. As I noticed a few times as I was going through the day getting ready, I was feeling more joyful about coming and talking tonight than some other nights that I've felt. I think it's because citizen engagement is happening. I've been in this room a number of times where there was 3 or 4 people for the city council meeting, and now we have this many. We even had spillovers to Golden Magnolia last time. I think that's citizen engagement. I know that there's been various other examples of it for me. In the property committee meeting that we had recently, we had a really robust conversation. Some people would say, that looked chaotic. But there's that old saying that goes, democracy is messy. And it's the best thing we've got. And that was a messy meeting. I want to call out, or return the call out to Cassidy, because she called me out in the meeting, gave one of the most eloquent, I'm a former Toastmaster, so I can evaluate a speech. She gave a really eloquent, passionate speech, no repeats, no filler words, and she called me out in a manner that was telling for me, that's caused me to look at how I've been operating in this issue that I'll share with you in a minute. Another thing that happened that I think is citizen engagement was after the last meeting, Tom Toohill called me up and said, I want to talk to you about the bridge that you've been showing pictures of. If there's a $37,000 bridge, I want to know about it, because I want, at the very least, want to know we made a mistake. So he said, I want you to talk to Marcus at French Reniker and put them together with Overman, and let's really get to the bottom of this. So we did that. I've had lots of discussions with Tom, lots of discussions with Marcus, one discussion with Stephen at French Reniker, and lots of discussions with Overman. And the good news is that bridge can be built for $37,000. The bad news is that I've got some crow to eat. So I had to have something that was funny in it, but it's not really funny because I made a mistake. It's okay. And Tom pointed it out to me. He said, I'm hearing in the community that it's as simple as there's a $37,000 bridge up against a $196,000 culvert, and I don't think that's true. And I now, from talking with him and with Marcus and with Overman, realize it's not true. Now, as has been said to me, if that bridge was going to be built in somebody's backyard, it would cost $37,000. That's the bid price that he's done it at in a number of places. But in Fairfield, it can't be done that way. There's a number of items on this whole project thing, from demolishing the bridge to reinforcing the edges of the causeway, that are not included in that 37. So it was never fair for me to say there's a $37,000 bridge up against a $196,000 culvert, and I apologize to everybody in the city and everybody here for being as simplistic as that. I'm sorry. So my correction of it is to want to work with Marcus and with Tom and anybody else to get as crystal clear about what is the price that we could build this bridge for. And the bad news is I'm still not sure after lots of talking. I'd like to have the chance to get sure. So I'm going to show you some examples of bridges. So this bridge is an 80-foot bridge. I showed this in the last one, and that one was put in for that $37,000. Now, this is a picture of the Walton Bridge. If we're going to compare apples to apples, this bridge has been sufficing for a very, very long time, including the last 10 years on the lease, and it has not up to the kind of engineering standards that are being required for this future bridge. This is another view. This is another view. I'm putting this one up just because I'm a member of Walton, and I have walked down that bridge many, many times with lots of golf teams, and I'm sad to see that it's going to go. But it does show some of the disrepair that's there in the abutments. This bridge is a 40-foot bridge that was installed for $10,000. That's the construction, the transportation, and the installation, and the abutments that are on either side were $5,000 each. The total cost of this bridge in Missouri, for real, is $20,000. This is a picture of this bridge standing up to a flood in that creek where it is all the way up to all over the abutments, and it withstood that. The maintenance manager of the city in Missouri that oversaw this project said, it's a good experience working with Jonathan Overman. The bridge is a great improvement, and this is why I'm reading this. It's not just a standard testimonial. The bridge is a great improvement over the 4-foot culverts that it replaced because they had all eroded out and were coming out of position. I've had many compliments from the patrons that walk this trail. The last picture that I have, I couldn't get it to Jason in time, so I'm going to show you, pretend to show you this picture. This is a picture of a bridge that many of you know. It's Lamson's Woods. This bridge is 350 feet long. Can you guess how much it cost to build in the city of Fairfield? $35,000 for the materials. The bridge was built by volunteers. We have 12 bridges on the trail system. A couple of them are big, expensive, fancy bridges over highways and railroads, but the rest, many of them are bridges that got the proper engineering to be able to work in Fairfield, but they were able to be built for very, very small amounts of money compared to what I depressingly heard in all my conversations with Tom and Marcus is that you really should have to allow $325,000 to build a bridge. So I'm left with nothing to say to you in terms of recommendations or requests other than if you feel grand, then you could give us a pause motion for a little bit, because that's basically what Tom, I think, did last time. We didn't get a pause motion, but he knew we were on pause due to the stay on the thing. So he said, I'm going to use that time to help Ed Hipp get his head on straight about what he's talking about, which I do now. And getting it on straight, I'm left with this crazy thing where there's a $325,000 bridge and there's a $37,000 bridge. And is there anything in the middle that could get us the advantages of the bridge in terms of the flow of the water, happy citizens, whatnot? And if there's not, then I give up. But I'm hoping some kind of further digging might find it. Of course, I'm looking forward to hearing what Marcus has to say about it, because I've had a lot of fun talking with him about numbers. Thank you all.
Thanks, Ed. Appreciate it. The apology, I'm not sure was necessary, but we appreciate that. And I think we as a...
May I ask a question?
Well, yeah, just a sec. I just want to make the comment that I think we've known that the 37,000 is not all encompassing. So I just want to recognize that. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Hipp, Ed?
Yes.
So with this research, did they give you any idea, the company you spoke with in Missouri, of what it would cost, any range?
I've gotten various ideas, and that's what has me flummoxed and throwing myself on the mercy of the court.
That company. That company.
Overman.
Yeah.
Yes. So, well, I've gotten different answers from Overman because we sat in a long conversation with Marcus, and he was going through, I think you got to put this in there, how are we going to cover? And what we got is that Overman can bid a price for the bridge and the delivery and the installation. But it seems that the installation part, the city, the engineering departments of the city would prefer to have the placement be separate from them so that they can take into account the ways they want to take in the anchoring of the edges of the causeway and all of that kind of stuff. So he said when he normally bids, he's bidding for the footing and the placement of the bridge. And so it's
Did he give a number?
So he said, first of all, I wasn't kidding about 37, but when he was talking to Marcus, and Marcus said, okay, let's put these three things in that you may not have been thinking. He said, well, I know I can do it for 100. And then they said, well, but what if we required this and this? And he said, today to me on the phone, he said, if you give me $196,000, I'll put a rainbow up on the lake over the bridge. So that's the way he talks. He also calls himself a redneck engineer. He has engineers he has available to, but when he goes and builds bridges all over the place, he's built them enough to know what he needs to do, both in the construction of the bridge part and in the placement part. It's just a matter of how can he get a chance, a real chance, to work with the city engineers and French Reniker to find out. What I would love to see is just enough time to where it doesn't stall the bridge out, the culvert out in terms of construction times, but it's enough time for, if the engineers and French Reniker are willing, to really listen to him from the standpoint of, here's where it's worked in other places. Is there any way to get that to pass standards here? Now, this, just so this doesn't feel entirely just airy-fairy, one of the very concrete things is, in the city of Fairfield, the engineers, you guys can correct me, Melanie or Marcus, if I'm getting this wrong, I probably am, but my understanding from Marcus is that when we do a fully licensed bridge, then it's going to conform to certain DOT transportation guidelines about how a bridge has to be. And one of those is that the payload has to be 10,000 pounds. I don't think it's 10 tons. I keep hearing the 10 tons, but it's not 10 tons.
It is 10,000 pounds.
10,000, is that right?
I believe it is.
Yeah, that's what I keep getting corrected by somebody who says it's tons, and I don't think it's tons. But at any rate, it doesn't matter. The apples to apples is that that bridge we saw is 8,000. So the price is going to go up if we say it has to be 10,000, because he'll have to have an engineer he'll have to pay a fresh engineer price to get the specifications for where the extra cross bars need to be and whether the pipes have to be thicker or what.
Up from the 100,000? Is it up from the 100,000 you mentioned? Is that what you mean?
Again, I've been through so many rounds of, well, if you add this, what is it going to be? But I've heard him say that he could do it for 100, and I heard him be pressed about, well, would that be everything exactly right? And he said, well, and I said, well, we're actually kind of working against a $196,000 culvert. He said, well, you give me 196, I know I can do this. So that's a little flimsy for you guys to make a vote on and change anything, but if you're feeling grand about it, you could change it, and I don't think there's any harm for it. But I get it if you don't, because we're all weary of this project, and I just wanted to make sure I made my apology and a last bid for, could we look into it a little bit more?
Thanks, Ed.
Yeah.
I'd like to make one little comment too about the 35,000 on the Lamson. I think that was how many years ago? 20, 25? And I think it is showing some wear. Is that correct, Melanie?
Yes.
And we'll need some repair.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, obviously,
10,000 pound load capacity.
that 35,000 is probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 times that today. I don't know what it would be, but that'd be my guess. So it would be much more today. So, go ahead, Doug.
Okay, so a big issue is draining the lake to do the work. So what did Overman say about that?
You mean?
I don't think that's essentially Overman's call, because if you say he's putting the bridge in and he's okay putting the bridge in above the structures, he doesn't need the abutments taken out. He doesn't need the old pilings taken out, because he's intending to foot his further back from there. So if we need it to come out, then that's for us to say. So in looking at this, if I was in a perfect world where I got everything I'd want, I'd say in this period of time that we could take, if we were going to take it, we would task the engineers to do everything they could to inquire, look out of the box, like was done with the trails, and figure out, is each of the processes that seems to require draining the lake, is that a process that could be done without draining the lake? For example, there are scuba divers who have saws that work underwater. So the demolition of the bridge could be done that way. How much more would it cost? Well, it's a little hard for me to get some of these things because I'm not really the order maker on this. So I think if we put that in some kind of spec thing and ask, can you do this and how much would you do it for? We might find we could demolish for no draining of the lake. We might find that there's ways of pile driving these steel rods that have concrete in them down in deep in with the pile driver that would both hold the edges of the causeway up and could be the footing for the bridge as well. We've heard from, I think it's what's the name of the company? Klingner, that I think we already have some work with. So there's various creative solutions to these that may not work, and I'd love to be able to say to myself at the end of the day, okay, we really looked at them all and they don't work. We have to do this culvert for 196. But it'd be less fun to say, well, there's 3 or 4 of these things that we never looked at or weren't looking at in the context of the importance that's accrued to it at this point in terms of the city's unity.
Okay, thank you, Ed. Appreciate it. Marcus?
So, good evening, Council. Kind of going off what Ed said here, I kind of prepared some items here that I wanted to kind of look at the Calhoun Burns bridge report that they did to initially start out the project. And in that report, I didn't know if Jason, you can click on my name there. It's got some stuff about the Calhoun Burns bridge report there. And kind of a couple things I wanted to highlight here is that in that report, they stated that the abutments and the piers are in critical and failing condition. As you can see, is that the bridge is at low capacity and the loading capacity is 0. The reason why they wanted to close the bridge is that they thought it could be sudden failures. That's why the load capacity is so low on this project. In the next couple slides there, Jason, there's just some photos and a little bit more about the report, just showing that the...
Wait, excuse me, Marcus?
Yeah.
Can I? Load capacity is 0.
Yes,
what does that mean?
So that means that they don't want anything on the bridge.
Thank you.
So that's why it's set at 0. And just kind of the other items I have here, just some photos showing the existing condition of the bridge, and they've noted some items that the existing abutments are in very, very bad condition, and that they need to be removed and replaced. And just the reason why you need to remove and replace the abutments is like you in that image there, you can see the undermining happening behind the abutments. If those abutments are not replaced with concrete green walls, concrete abutments, or sheet piling, that undermining will continue to happen, and that bridge gap will keep getting wider and wider, and would not be, safe to build a bridge with that opening. So during our evaluation, we looked at completely reconstructing the bridge with a pre-engineered pedestrian bridge with an AASHTO H5 load rating, which is 10,000 pounds.
Excuse me, Marcus?
Yes.
When was your evaluation?
We prepared everything, submitted everything in July 2024 to council.
Nice.
So it was around that time, spring 2024 is when we did that evaluation. In that evaluation, we reached out to Wheeler, who is a certified Iowa DOT pedestrian bridge fabricator, and they provided us with a quote for $85,000, which I did include that in there too, Jason, if you keep on scrolling down a little bit. That shows the quote that we got in May. On May 29th, 2024, we got a quote from Wheeler for this bridge, which is a pre-engineered bridge. And then we continue to provide a cost estimate for the removal of this existing structure, construction of the bridge, and the cost of a new bridge. And then we, other miscellaneous items. I also provided a sketch there kind of showing what I was kind of showing for what the bridge abutments and stuff would kind of need to look like. With those abutments are not only holding up the bridge, they're supporting the soil from falling in, kind of like I said. So those abutments need to go down to support the soil, because if the abutments don't go all the way down, the water can undermine those abutments and you could lose the bridge. And so that's kind of just a quick sketch kind of showing everything we did and what we kind of looked at in the analysis of a bridge in this situation. So along with that, so our estimate came out to $264,000, and along with the Calhoun and Burns bridge inspection, they came out with a bridge replacement cost of $275,000. So that's why it was determined that the cheapest option was to move forward with the dam and culvert option at the time, is what we did. So the final project we came up with was the 8 42-inch culverts. But then we came back and, we heard some feedback about the wildlife passage and from the DNR, from the public. So we revised our design to that 10-foot wide, that single 10-foot wide, 8-foot RCP culvert that City Council approved. So that's kind of, just wanted to give kind of all the update on that, and that's kind of all I had prepared, and I'm here to answer any additional questions.
So,
Yeah.
go ahead, Doug.
So in '24, late spring, early summer '24, the price was estimated $256,000 to $274,000.
264,000 and 275,000 from.
So, any idea what the estimate would be today?
I would assume pretty similar. The construction prices have stayed pretty level this past year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would just like to note that, listening to this for the last year and a half, it's been clear to me that, there are different grades and levels of bridges that you can purchase and or construct. And this is a much higher grade than some of the other things that have been presented, right?
Correct, yep.
And so, we do want this bridge to last a long time. And I think that's one of the big differences in the discussion on the costs of the different bridges that we've seen.
Correct.
And if we were having this discussion last year or before the bid and the signed contract, we would be having that discussion of what grade of bridge do we want, right? So, anyway, I'm just pointing that out, that we would be having that before anything got signed.
So Marcus, in your conversations with Mr. Hipp and the company out of Missouri,
Overman,
yeah. Is there anything you've heard or seen that would change your evaluation?
No, because they're loading the bridge. He said it was 8,000, and how he came up with that is not an engineered bridge. He just loaded 2 concrete blocks in the middle of the bridge and set them down there, and that's how he determined what the 8,000-pound loading was. And he also stated that even with this longer bridge, that the loading might be closer to 6,000 pounds compared to the 8,000 pounds. So no.
Your recommendation is the same?
Yeah, my recommendation is the same.
Explain that again. How he determined the load.
The load, he just set 2 4,000
He
concrete
just
blocks.
actually did it.
Yeah, and then but compared to like an engineered bridge, they're designed.
Right.
So there's a little bit more factors when you have a bridge. You got to think about when you're driving across it. It's not a dead load. It's a live load, which creates bouncing and those things.
These bridges are certified based on the engineering aspects of it.
Correct. The ones we looked at.
Like Wheeler's, the one you're talking about.
They're pre-engineered.
And his is not done in that.
No, and the ones that we look at are signed. They're licensed by a signed professional engineer in the state of Iowa.
Right.
And the bridges that Overman are not. He did state that he could get an engineer involved, but that one that he proposed was not.
The one thing that I've noticed too in all the bridges, or many of the bridges that we've seen in pictures, are much lower to the ground. So if they fail, you're probably going to be okay, right? Versus our bridge and whatever it is, 10 or 12 feet of water. That's another dynamic that we're working with. Correct?
Yes, correct. And the other item is that we're dealing with those vertical faces that the existing abutments have created. That vertical face, those other bridges that at least that Mr. Hipp showed were had kind of a gradual slope. Because if you wanted to have a gradual slope bridge, you would have to just make the bridge longer, and that would just create more cost.
Okay. Other questions for Marcus? Okay.
Marcus, just a minute. Is the 10,000 load factor pretty much the lowest standard that DOT expects on bridges?
Yeah, that's for what they use for a trail bridge. It's just for pedestrian bridge, for any pedestrian trail bridge, that's is 10,000 pounds. Typically.
All right,
Yep.
so I'm the city's attorney and somebody sues us over a defect in the bridge. We have to at least be up to that 10,000 pound load standard. Or we've got a defect just from the definition of it, correct?
I'm not sure on that one.
All right, I'm not asking you to be a lawyer, but would you be comfortable defending a bridge that had a $10,000 load standard if I put you on the stand?
Yes, for like, especially for like golf cart use or pedestrian use, yes.
All right, and if we wanted to drive a Ford F-350 out there with a full box load of bags of seed, would you have any hesitance in letting a truck drive out on a bridge with a 10,000 load factor?
Yeah, it would depend how much that vehicle weighs. You know, they're designed for, that's what they're designed for. Maximum weight is for like a maintenance vehicle is what they're designed
Right.
for. So I don't know exactly, you know, how much that vehicle would weigh, but that's their design capacity for a 10,000 pound maintenance vehicle to be able to get across that type of bridge.
All right, thanks.
When was that standard established?
I do not know for sure. I do know the Highway 1 project, the bridge over Highway 1 here in town, does have a 10,000 pound load capacity.
On the trail.
The trail bridge, yes. So I know it was in that standard because I pulled up those plan sets and they referenced Iowa DOT spec back then, and it was a very, very similar spec compared to the today's
Do all the
spec.
footbridges around the trail system have that specification?
No, they do not, because they have access. They can access the trail without using the bridge. In most
Yes,
areas.
but when you-
in most areas.
A maintenance vehicle.
Sorry, yes.
But if they're walkers or bikers, the standard is different?
I think I'm not sure what standards they use when they design those.
I'm just trying to establish whether those walking bridges there are 16 of them, like 16 around the trail
Yes.
system, they don't necessarily meet that standard, and that's okay. And I was wondering if they were put in before the standard was established, and so they're grandfathered in, or there's something else going on?
I'm not sure on that one. I would have to talk to Kent Rice. He was a big part of that, and I could talk to him on how that was kind of established.
Okay.
Okay, great. Other questions? Okay,
Yeah, can I ask one question?
yeah, go ahead, Tom.
We were talking about the 10,000 pound limit, which some people think may be excessive. If we're looking at the golf carts, I think we established a golf cart is 1,200 pounds. If we have two individuals on the golf cart, which are 200 each, so you're looking at 1,600 pounds, 250 pound bags of clubs. So you're looking at 1,700 pounds per cart without anybody standing on the rear bumper riding across, which they often do. So when they do a shotgun start in some of these tournaments, all the carts take off from the clubhouse at the same point. We would have to have a maximum of only 4 carts in the bridge at a time before we'd exceed load capacity. So 10,000 is not excessive at all if the carts were all minimum weight and nobody was riding on the back. If we hit 5 carts, even at minimum weight, what's 5 times 17, we'd be 10,500 pounds. So we're already exceeding it with 5 carts.
Not good math.
So I don't think 10,000 pounds is an excessive weight to look at all.
Yeah, you're correct, Tom. That's kind of how when we initially looked at it, that's kind of how we looked at it. We assumed at a shotgun start, you typically have 4 people go into a hole. That you know that's kind of what we looked at on kind of as a absolute minimum design standard. It would be a minimum of 4 carts on that bridge. And typically with designing, you also have a factor of safety on top of that. So when we looked at designing it, I used a 2,100 pound design load for a golf cart, and that's why we came up, 4 carts, 10,000 did not seem unreasonable to use.
Great, thank you. Okay, next up, which is Jen.
Can I ask everybody to please get along and be decent? We have several emergencies going on in the city. We have 3 officers working. One is trying to stay at the Jewish synagogue, and I'm still here because we're still discussing the bridge. But now we have a stabbing, so I'm gonna ask everybody to be very nice until I can get back, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, boy. Yeah, so again, if no outbursts and then comments, please respect the council in that manner. So next up was Jen Stever. She sent me an email and wanted me to read. She said, regret that we are unable to attend this meeting in person due to scheduling conflicts. We would like to thank Mayor Boyer for reading a statement on Walton Board's behalf. So this is their letter. The Walton Board is fully supportive of the city's decision on this project and have appreciated their collaborative efforts since the beginning of the project. After reviewing recent city council meetings, we have identified several inaccuracies circulating online and in the media regarding this project. We would like to clarify a few points for the public's understanding. The Walton Club was established in 1929 and has been leasing the ground from the city of Fairfield since day one. Part of the agreement states we pay property taxes on the buildings and the ground. For the 2025-2026 fiscal year, this amounts to be $17,022. Additionally, the Walton Club has never stated or insinuated that we would take responsibility for the bridge project or the financial burden. We have and continue to support our community in numerous ways. Chamber golf tournament that has approximately 100 golfers from around the community raising funds for the chamber. Fairfield and Pekin schools booster tournaments that also have over 100 golfers. Numerous golf tournaments that are open to the public that have had over 700 people participate throughout the year. A list of golf tournaments open to the public is attached, and I think there were 13 golf events for 2025. Attracting numerous golfers from outside of the community that contribute to local businesses. We hold class reunions, graduations, baby showers, wedding receptions, celebrations of life, and other events for members and non-members. We have hosted banquets for organizations such as Shriners, Cattlemen's Association, Pheasants Forever, among others. Providing a venue for the Fairfield Area Community Theater productions and the Southeast Iowa Blues Society meetings and events. Offering live music open to the public. Host manna for the Fairfield Food Bank Ministry fundraiser event. The Walton Club is open to the public for lunch daily, and we welcome our friends and neighbors to join us for a meal. Those who wish to use the lake for fishing and kayaking, we encourage you to enjoy the lake as we do. If you are interested in golfing or learning to golf, we invite you to the course. Overall, the Walton Club has history in our community where people gather for golf, food and drinks, card games, special events, live music, and sporting events. The causeway/bridge is vital to the safety and operation of the Walton Club. It provides a safe route to access the course in front of the clubhouse and is essential for tracking golfers for insurance liability purposes. Accessing the course on the gravel or back road is unsafe and introduces significant liability risks. Thank you for your time, the Walton Board. Okay. Frank Broz.
Hello, Council, Mayor. My name is Frank Broz. I'm in the 1st Ward. I live at 904 East Adams Avenue. And I just wanted to come and comment in support of the approach that the Council has taken so far to make this decision and to encourage you to go forward with the project as designed. I did follow, I watched the previous meeting on September 8th. It was an education for me. I found the decision-making process to be extensive. I appreciated learning about the input that the council received earlier from the Walton Board and the process with cost comparisons, as well as a little bit of reading I did later about consultation with the insurance company to get an opinion on some of these liability issues. And that included that you can't just sign away your liability in a lease. It was an education for me, and I appreciated it. I also wanted to mention that I understand that building infrastructure in natural areas is tricky. I've been a part of the Trails Council for quite a while and been involved in some of those. And you know, the best thing for the wilderness is for people not to build in it, but we all enjoy being out in nature, and so we have to accept some of those trade-offs of having a beautiful place that has a construction site in it for some amount of time. I personally love the Walton Lake area. I've waited on the trail while a mother snapping turtle crossed back across after laying eggs. It's special to me. I realize it's a beautiful natural place. And at the same time, about a week ago, I was out with a group, and we were replacing some maps in kiosks there, which is especially helpful for visitors to our community to understand how to use the trails. And during that process, I sprayed a bunch of wasps and destroyed some ant nests and termites. I don't relish doing that, but if we're going to have kiosks, we have to do some of these things. And I think the same really is true for things like the trail system in general, homes, bridges. I just think that's part of it that we need to accept. I also wanted to say that as a constituent, what I'm hoping for from the council and city and expecting is a fair process for making decisions like this, which to my mind, that is what the council has. And following that fair process, which I know can be challenging, but as far as I can tell, that is what the council has done. And then the third part is getting the job done and moving on. And to me, I feel like that's the phase that we're in now. And I'd like to see this project move forward quickly, and as many of you have mentioned several times, have a high standard for the lake at the end. Sounds like the work with the DNR, if you follow their guidance, will ensure that will happen. So in conclusion, I just want to say I have confidence in the city engineer, I have confidence in French Reniker, I have confidence in the Drish construction company, and I have confidence in the council's process for planning this project. And I'd like to see it move forward as planned to improve our community.
Great, thank you, Frank. Appreciate that. Trevor Brown, Drish Construction.
Council, Mayor. My name is Trevor Brown. I've been with Drish Construction since 2004 in the capacity of project manager, project estimator, and in-house civil engineer and land surveyor. With me today is Trevor Drish, who's a partner at Drish Construction. He's been officially with us for 9 years, but honestly, I've worked with him since I've been there, since he was a little kid. Drish Construction has been doing work with the city since we were incorporated in 1993. We've completed dozens of several successful projects over those years. We currently have 24 employees, most of whom have been with the firm for over 10 years. All these individuals rely on the owners and employees to provide work for them to keep the company running and profitable. Most of the work that we do is municipal work, which we obtain through the competitive bid process. We're the lowest responsible bidder is awarded the contract. I'm here today. I've heard our name bantered around in council meetings and in the paper, and I really just wanted to give the council our view of what's going on. You know, nothing I'm saying is meant to be inflammatory, it's just factual only. And I feel like I need to start with the Walton project from when we were introduced to it. So the letting was on March 24th earlier this year. There were two bidders on it, Drish Construction and Leffler Construction. We were at round numbers, we were at $196,000. Leffler Construction was second place at $343,000. So about $147,000 difference from low bid to second place. The contract agreement that we have with the city was dated April 2nd of 2025. Where the notice to proceed for this project currently has not been issued yet. But a part of those specifications that we bid off of specifically stated that the time for completion of the work is an essential condition of the contract documents. Those contract documents stated that we have 30 working days or roughly 42 calendar days to complete the project. With actually the late start date, the latest we could start was April 18th of this year. Currently, our status with the city is that we are under a binding obligation to complete the work as we bid it, and it's stated in the drawings and specifications.
August 18th. Right?
We've been very patient, cooperative with the city in providing alternatives for allowing construction to occur while not completely draining the lake, as well as alternatives to allow for wildlife to cross in between in the area of the current bridge location. And then, ultimately provide an aesthetically pleasing product in the end. Because we're proud of everything we build. We don't want it to come back on us that, oh, Drish has built that. To be clear, we have not, as a company, discussed or priced out anything to anyone in relation to us not performing this project. Our contract and obligation is with the city. We've shuffled our schedule around all summer, obtained some additional work to try to fill the void that we thought we would be working on this project in this summer. Our goal moving forward is to complete this project. We believe that if the city decides to abandon this project, it could set a very concerning precedent for future work. For example, this is a relatively small scale project in relation to some of the projects the city has done or is currently doing. If it's halted due to opposition from individuals or unelected officials, we're concerned that future infrastructure projects or improvements or community initiatives could face similar obstacles and potentially stalling any of the city's progress. I'm also concerned that actions that occur on a smaller project could snowball into larger projects or cause issues. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Yeah. Are you about ready to wrap up?
I can, real quick.
Yeah.
From a contractor's perspective, the most difficult communities that we do work in are those that frequently delay decisions, fail to communicate project updates, or change requirements unexpectedly. That unreliability results in our wasted resources, scheduling conflicts, and increased costs, making it difficult for contractors to efficiently plan and execute any projects. The more challenging, and we do take that into account on all of our bids. The more challenging communities, we see higher bid prices in typically. I would just ask the council to set aside any emotion and any decisions that they make tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
One question?
Yes, go ahead.
I think you spoke to the late start date in your contract, and you said April 18th. It was August 18th, wasn't it?
August, did I say, April 2nd was when the contract was signed. It's
Yeah.
August 18th was the late start date.
All right.
So, and that brings up a whole nother concern as we are well into fall right now. We haven't ordered the materials because we haven't been given a notice to proceed. So we are 12 weeks out on delivery of the culvert right now. And that's not due to anything other than that's just how long stuff takes to get built.
Okay.
So that puts us in Christmas time right now.
Okay.
And then
Can you do it?
If weather is nice, I can. If it's not, it's a whole nother. When the council approved, I believe it was August 8th, approved the box culvert idea, I was under the assumption I could order it the next week and have it here by the end of October, middle of November. They keep pushing back the lead time on me, and I don't see it changing right now. So I'm very concerned about completing it this year. That's just a reality.
Well, what would you do? I mean, do you start it? I mean, I'm not sure what would happen then.
That's a conversation that we really need to have with the city engineer and your administrative staff. I don't know. That's the worst case scenario. Is I don't know what the weather's going to be like. We've had several years where we work clear through January, and some that we shut down the 1st of December.
So you don't know.
Can't read Mother Nature's mind very well, obviously.
You're gonna have to work on that. Figure out what's gonna happen with the weather. Okay.
Thank you,
Trevor.
Council.
Really appreciate it. Okay. Next is Fonziba Koster. Is she here? Did I say your name right?
Fonziba. I know it's an
No, I'm
unusual.
sorry.
It's an African version of my name. Hello, everyone. I'm Fonziba Koster. I am 71 years old and have rented a house on Walton Lake for 14 years. And with a small inheritance, I was finally able to buy the home that I was renting and become a first-time homeowner on this lake that I love so much. As we know, the city felt responsible to build the bridge that they felt was part of the lease, and that you were under the understanding that the suspension bridge wouldn't work. And based on these 2 points, you moved forward, got 3 bids, chose the least costly bridge, and I believe that you worked hard and thought you were doing the right thing. The only problem, again, for us is the fact that the causeway will block 94% of the water flowing back and forth. And the DNR, at one of our earlier meetings, expressed very clearly it's not the best thing for the health of the lake. So that's one of our main objections. And also because the causeway will cut off the public access point where the fishermen put their boats in. That is in the smaller northwestern part of the lake, and the causeway would completely cut that off, which would mean we no longer have a public access for the boaters and the kayakers and the fishermen. And of course, there's the draining of the lake issue, which I don't think I need to get into. We're all aware of why we're not happy with that. But before I go further, I want to thank you all for your hard work. I truly appreciate it. I wouldn't want your job, frankly. But what I struggle with is once these issues became clear and so many people were against them, you know, it seems like that now I'm feeling a much more openness to discussing other solutions and things. And I think the main thing as a lakeside resident I would like you to bear in mind is, imagine you live on a beautiful lake, and now imagine that it's drained, leaving a big pit of mud and thousands of rotting fish. You know, how would you feel? And how long are we as lake owners going to have to endure the stench and the mess? Plus, the DNR says refilling the lake could take several years. So how will this affect property values? I did a little research and it shows that they could drop 10 to 30% due to the loss of waterfront appeal. I know I paid way more. I had a little home. I paid way more for it than I would if it were located somewhere else. I paid a lot because it's on the lake. In these, you know, precarious financial times, I worry, what if one of us needs to sell our home before the lake is filled up, especially if it takes, you know, a couple of years. So I think what we're all trying to hope for here is to all be good neighbors and to please put yourselves in our shoes. At a recent property committee meeting, I was told it was wrong to think the council wanted this particular causeway because it allowed for emergency vehicle access. Yet at the hearing before the judge, my understanding is to lift the stay on the draining of the lake. Our city attorney used that very idea as one of his arguments before the judge. Could you put up that map? So just to make this point very clear, as far as emergency access, if you look at this map, you'll all see it shows a much better route. If you go up 200th Street, which gives a straight, safe shot to the golf course with multiple access points. In contrast, the bridge route involves a dangerous S-curve on Walton Lake Road. I know because I drive it every day. You have to really slow down. There's trees right next to the road. Then you have to navigate past the golfers who are all along the road at the top of the hill loading up their golf carts, and then through the parking lot, and then down a very narrow path between the clubhouse and the adjacent home, and then finally over the bridge. I mean, the map should be clear. If you're trying to get to X, A is a much better way, much quicker, and much safer way to go, so I doubt any emergency vehicle would ever take that. All 35 property lake owners have signed a petition opposing this plan. A group of, as you all know, a group of concerned citizens has come together, attending meetings, researching alternatives, gathering petitions, and raising $27,000 to find a better alternative for the bridge. I think our point is that our proposal would not require draining the lake, would not split the lake in two, which is even more of a concern for me. And we don't know, hopefully it'll use less taxpayer funds, but as everyone has said, we're not sure about that. Mistakes, I believe, have been made on both sides, but I believe everybody here wants what's best for our town. Wouldn't it be better to harness the energy of these concerned citizens and work together to creatively find a solution like Doug Flournoy once suggested, instead of wasting all this energy in opposition? That to me would be true leadership. I think that's maybe starting to happen, and I'm very happy about that. So let me close by saying I live right across the street from a golf club. I don't golf, but all the men in my family did, and I love living next door to the golf club. I like everyone there, and I'm confident that if we work together, we can find a solution that will benefit everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Another question?
Yeah,
I keep hearing this phrase. I want to be clear. I was corrected when I had a conversation with someone earlier. We're not draining the lake. I think the correct word, it's called a drawdown, and there's a difference. Mr. Toohill, are you on the line? Is he available?
Tom, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
You had I'd spoken with you, and you said I used the word draining, so that's not correct. It should be called, the word phrase is drawdown. Could you explain it to me in a way that made sense to me? Would you mind doing that again, please? Explain
The way I understand it, Melody can correct me if I'm wrong too, is that we're drawing down the lake 11.5 feet to the point where we can reach bottom, where the structures and constructions need to be repaired under the current bridge. Now, our last data that we received, our last official data we received, has depths much deeper than that, down around the other bridge, and in I believe maybe over by number 2 green. I know somebody went through with a fish finder and said that 11.5 feet is the deepest. That's not an official, that reaches something, but it reaches structure, but it doesn't reach bottom. So we're going off the data that we last received when it was done, and it's close to 20 feet, I believe, down by the other bridge. So a drawdown is not draining the lake. It's reducing the water around where the bridge project we're looking at is going on.
May I respond
Does that make
to
sense?
that? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
When you say the other bridge, Tom, you meant the causeway between 2 and 7, right? Yes?
The deep part?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
the down at the end, where you access the homes around on the other side, where you drive over.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Okay.
The reason I said what I did is because my understanding as the figures that were used about the depth of the lake were from 1971, and they're most likely inaccurate. And then we asked for a fisherman to go, and he measured the depths all over the lake. That was presented at many meetings ago.
What did he use? What did he use? A fish finder?
Does anyone, do you know what he used?
Yes, he used a special sonar device which is used to get depths and pick up any movement or structures. And this is commonly used, and we did some research on them. They are pretty accurate. They, not likely to be out by more than a very small percent.
So that's where the concern comes in.
They go down to the structure, is that what you're saying?
They'll go down to structure or anything solid, but they'll also pick up a fish moving, which is what fishermen use.
Would solid be sediment? Is that solid?
Well, sediment, yeah. If the sediment wasn't loose and fluttering.
So the concern is that at most, the depth of the lake, even down by the spillway, was at most 12 feet.
Couldn't sediment be solid found by a fish finder, but it actually go down quite a bit further because it's still
Which
it has
means
water.
that means if
It's
there's
deeper than where
sediment,
it's
it's actually
deeper than-
not deeper. It would be shallower because if the sediment is loose. I mean, it's not going to be loose by 10 feet. It might be loose by a foot, but if he's going down to the solid part, it still only went down 12 feet. So that's our concern, is basically the lake's going to be emptied and we're going to be looking at dead fish and everything else. It was based on those readings and the fact, I mean, originally when you guys approved the bridge, you didn't know the lake had to be drained by 11.5 feet, but now we know that. Excuse me.
Yeah.
The lake had to be drawn down by 11.5 feet, but now we know that, and we know that the lake at its deepest part is 12 feet, and that's our concern as residents is.
Do we know that? Do we know that, Melanie?
That's what his readings show.
12.5.
Do we know that?
Was the deepest part of the
The
lake?
deepest part he found was.
All right.
Well, actually, no, sorry. There was a very deep part right next to the dam wall of 14.5 feet.
By the spillway.
But for most of the lake, it was 12.5 feet. So there, you could get a tiny pool of water right by the wall.
Yeah.
That would not go down if you just went down to 11.5 feet. So you would get some pools of water left. So it wouldn't be completely drained, but it would be maybe 80% drained, something like that.
So a lot of areas, you know, especially where I live in a lower, in a less shallower part of the lake, that would be completely, a lot of the lake would be completely drawn down.
My second point is I understand the lake would be filled up. Actually, it could take a matter of weeks, not years.
No, the
Yes.
DNR, when they were here, they said it could take 1 to 3 years. Because
Well,
it's rain.
We just don't know. It depends on the rain, right?
It's rain that fills up the lake.
Right,
all
right.
winter long.
Had we started on time, or when we had contracted, I think the lake would be filled by now. That's what I understand.
Well,
There's been no rain.
Okay.
yeah, anyway. It all
All right,
depends
anyway,
on
yeah.
rainfall, and rainfall in the winter is
Yeah.
not, you know, we get most of our rain in the spring and the summer, where you don't get a whole lot in the fall, so, you know, that's the concern, and the concern of dividing the lake into two, is a big concern.
Okay, let's move on to the next person. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your comments. Okay, Brian Horsefield?
I got thrown into this because the Walton Lake issue kind of stirred me. Sorry, Brian Horsefield, Ward 3, running for City Council, filling the empty seat. I didn't relish the idea of joining City Council, but the whole issue of Walton Lake stirred me quite deeply because I couldn't find a single person in my neighborhood, and when I started knocking on doors when I accepted the challenge, I've knocked on maybe 200 or 300 doors, and I haven't found a single person that's in favor of spending public money on this project. So it really stirred me deeply, and it was going to the subcommittee at Walton Lake, a couple of meetings there. After I'd been to 2 meetings, I sort of felt a little bit more comfortable about jumping into this because it's a very, I would say, more inclusive and effective way of engaging with the public than at times City Council can be quite intimidating. You know, we didn't realize we had to sign 3 or 4 days in advance in order to speak and that kind of thing. So it's, I think there's been a failure in Walton Lake of representative government because we're not representing what I'm hearing the Ward 3 electorate tell me. So they're telling me loud and clear that they don't agree with their public funds being spent on this project. So there's 2 things. Really, how could we do it better? And I think better citizen engagement. This new subcommittee is a good thing. One of the things that occurred to me was, why couldn't it be put out to vote, you know, in the city election? Somebody said, we need a referendum for that, we need to be a charter city. I don't know about that. I know that there's been the school expenditure put on the ballot sometimes. But from everybody I've spoken to, and that petition that we gathered 300 signatures in 6 hours, it was pretty overwhelming to see that the general public does not support the expenditure of $200,000 on a primarily for the benefit of the golf club. Now, you know, they're doing great things, and I don't deny that they're a wonderful service to the community, but you can consider that in the realm of a service club. And so, you know, service clubs don't normally ask for those amounts of money from the public. So this comes down, it really is about the money for me. It's not the environment, it's the money. And that's why I wanted to see if I could throw some light on this and help alleviate or express the opinion of the people in Ward 3. So it really comes down to this legal question of public purpose doctrine. Now, that hasn't been decided by a court of law, of course, in this case, so the opinions on it differ. So I like to use the rule of common sense. You know, common sense would be, what do the ordinary people think? And they're telling me loud and clear, they think this is a violation of public interest. So I think that's perhaps all I have to say. You know, that the public are disappointed and infuriated, quite honestly, throughout Ward 3 and throughout the city, as far as I can tell. It's not popular, and I think it's been built twice by the Walton Club, and it's not beyond their means to figure it out. They've done it. They use their creativity, and the other thing about a private initiative is it's not under the onus of the city, so they can do things. I heard the term redneck engineering. You know, they can maybe cut a few corners and get the insurance company happy. They can insure it, they can warranty it, the bridge company will warranty it, and that kind of thing. So it can be done, and I think we should persevere with Ed Hipp's idea. But I would like to see it done as a private endeavor, and then some of the engineering questions can be softened a little bit because it's not a city project, it's a Walton Club project, and that's all I have to say.
So, Brian, I have a quick question. Two questions, actually. Walton Club said they don't want to take it on, so how do you get over that hump?
Well, it's very simple. The city council can decide, and it's very unfortunate there was a write-in campaign against me, which prevented me joining that vote, but we could have paused it. And I would go stronger. I would go for a stronger motion to say this is a violation of the public purpose. We need to give it back to the Walton Club where it was before, and it's a decision by the city council. So they've made the opinion that the public purpose doctrine was violated. So, that can be their opinion. But that's a pretty strong one. They can go a half measure and say, let's pause it, let's look at other things. It's up to city council to decide, not the Walton Club.
And one more other question.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say there's a group that figures out they can build a bridge for $100,000, but we have to pay out Drish $196,000 for their contract. How is that cheaper than the $196 we're going to pay them? Because now you're saying, and I'm just throwing out a number of $100,000 just to make it cheaper, right? We have a contract, a legal binding contract with Drish. Then if we have to pay it out, it's $196,000, and then on top of that, we still build this other bridge. So how is that cheaper in the long run?
Because the Iowa public purpose doctrine, once you make that opinion, the council can make that opinion. The council makes that opinion that, in their opinion, this isn't, and every AI program that we've looked at agrees with that opinion, and the public sentiment that we are gauging agrees with that this is not in the public interest. So the council says, of all of these indicators of public interest, we conclude, we're not a court, but we decide that it's a violation of the public purpose doctrine. So if they make that conclusion, then that's a void contract, because you cannot have a contract to perform something illegal. It's illegal. So the contract with void becomes void.
Now, Mr. Horsefield, you understand that the city can't, in a contract we've entered into, decide suddenly that we're a violation of public purpose and therefore we're voiding the contract. We would be sued, and that would be a decision made by a court, right?
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible, I can say, but I think doing the right thing sometimes is difficult, and you say...
You also understand that the bridge is not part of the Walton Lake lease. You understand that? It never has been.
It was up until 2015. So when that was changed, and it's up for renewal in a couple of months, so we could just say the new lease is this, and it includes you taking the bridge back.
So you believe that the bridge was part of the lease at some point?
I think it was, the interpretation of the lease was changed in 2015 to include repair and maintenance of the bridge, but I understand it wasn't that way prior to that. So for 84 years, the Walton Club, and they built it twice at their own expense, and they insured it at their own expense. So they were taking ownership of that bridge. And that's the natural conclusion of most people. They would think, well, it's their bridge, let them get on with it.
But we know it's not, right? Because it's
Well,
owned
they
by the
built it
city
twice.
and it's not part of the lease.
No, but they
The
built
lease
it
we've had
twice.
since 2015.
Yeah, but that lease can be changed. So that lease can be
Both sides
changed
agree.
and give it back to them.
When you asked people and you said all these people were saying they would disappointed with the city, what did you tell them?
Well, you can sugarcoat it any way you like.
But no, what would you tell them? I'm asking.
Well, how would you ask them in which they would get a
I don't
yes
know. I'm
answer?
asking you. What did you tell them?
You can tell them, you can ask any way you like, and they will. You can't get a yes out of them. It's like getting blood out of a stone. Nobody is going to say yes. So you can sugarcoat a question.
I'm not
but it won't
sugarcoating. I'm
get a
just
yes
asking.
answer. Well, it's obvious, that the city is paying $200,000 for a bridge that's for the benefit of about 120 golfers at the private club.
Well, I think we've heard from Walton Club, and we know that that's not completely accurate.
Well,
There's much
yeah,
more that
there's-
happens there than 120 golfers.
No, but that's the same for every private club in the, the country club allows the public to come on there 3 times a year, 2 times a year. The Walton Club allow people to come on 3 times a year. So to say that's, and it's nice, but it's not open season for anybody at any time. They have to be a member to come on more than 3 times. So it's still, it's an opinion. They have one opinion, and the council can have another opinion.
Yep, that's true. And I think from our legal counsel, what you have said at this point feels that it is a public purpose, and it's important that the council listen to our legal counsel, so to avoid litigation and avoid risk and that kind of thing. So, there's that opinion too, and I think that's where the council has been, is listening to their legal counsel, and not only locally, but our other legal counsel in Des Moines. So, but I think we'll hear more about that, and so I'm hoping that will clarify a few things. So,
Can I make a?
go ahead, Doug.
Just so happens the lease is sitting right here, and I did not bring it with me. From 1991 to 2015, so the lease prior to the current lease. And I think the phrase or the section that people are referring to when they said, or they say or claim, the Walton Club was responsible for the bridge prior to the current lease, is this section 2. It's a very short lease, only 1.5 pages. But section 2 here, number 2 says, the lessor, which is the city, herein shall not be obligated to maintain or repair any roads, drives, or bridges that are adjacent to said reservoir, Walton Lake, and use of same shall be at the user's peril. So, but if you think that means, that's the argument that people are having, who took care of the bridge. But in practice, the Walton Club has taken care of the bridge forever. We've never taken care of the bridge, even though the most current lease says we're obligated to take care of it. We didn't take care of it. So in practice, not by legal obligation, but in practice, the Walton Club has taken care of it all the time, up until a few months ago or years ago.
A few months or a few years, that's a difference, a big difference.
Well, when it failed in April 24 and we decided to repair it,
right.
That's the first time we ever got involved in taking care of that bridge.
Well, I don't know why, but the sins of the past are something that's what they are, but our obligation is clear. The lease is clear. The language is clear. Not the old lease. I'm talking about the current lease. I think we're going to hear about it, though.
I'm just clarifying why people are claiming that it took care of, Walton Club took care of the bridge before, because that's the, of that provision in the prior lease.
Prior lease, right.
Okay.
That's
Okay,
all.
great. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. Roger Leahy.
Hi, Roger Leahy. Ward 1. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. And I spoke to the property committee meeting about the lease, and I carefully read both the current lease and the prior lease. And indeed, the main, that paragraph, the word "not" was dropped as we rewrote this, as this lease we entered into 10 years ago. And in talking with the maintenance people at the country club, the city took an interest in this apparently last year when they were thinking about replacing the bridge, but in practice they have done no maintenance on the bridge or causeway. All the maintenance, has been done by the Walton Club for the entire time, which I guess comes up to like 94 years or 96 years or whatever. So that's, I think, the use of the situation. I wanted to point out how important the lease is, because the lease defines this relationship. And I have read this lease very carefully, and I suggest everybody on the council read it very carefully too. And there are some, in addition to that one phrase, and there's which right now says it has to do with maintaining and/or repairing any roads or bridges that are adjacent to the clubhouse, golf course, and reservoir. And before it said the city was not maintaining that. But the maintain or repair is a very important distinction than remove or replace or rebuild or anything like that. And there's considerable case law that has been given to the council that documents that. One of them was I don't know. I mean, I don't have time in 3 minutes to go through the case law, but that has been the situation. That it's been upheld in Iowa courts that any lease that says repair and maintain does not mean rebuild. And I think I don't know that there's been any cases to oppose that position. I want to mention the other clauses that are real important. In clause 3, it says the Walton Club shall maintain the golf course, the clubhouse, and the golf shed. And then it says the lessee, the city of Fairfield, is to maintain the dam site, the reservoir, and the old Jordan well, and the area around it. So that's kind of talking about the relative, A maintains this, B maintains that, and that doesn't specify the golf cart. And I'm just saying that based upon past usage, golf cart should really go in the direction of the Walton Club being responsible for it, for the maintenance. And then in paragraph 4, it says, the lessor, which is the city, shall not be obligated to furnish or financially participate in any repairs to facilities to serve any structure or building adjacent to said reservoir or clubhouse area and so forth. By the way, I looked up a definition of adjacent could be close or near. And so they're basically saying in paragraph 4 that the city shall not be obligated to furnish or financially participate in any repairs to facilities to serve any structures or buildings. So that says right there in the lease that the city should not be responsible. Then in paragraph 8, it says, it is expressly understood that the improvements on this lease ground are the personal properties of the lessee, which is the Walton Club. And it goes on to say that if anything could be removed at the end of the lease, they could remove it. Obviously, you're not going to easily remove a bridge, but it's saying that it says right in the lease that the improvements by the Walton Club are the personal property of the Walton Club. And then those are all contradictions in this lease. I'm suggesting that one of the basic things that has to happen is this lease needs to be cleaned up, clarified, and while we're doing that, we should, even though it's implied that it doesn't include rebuilding bridges, that should be put in there as a clause. And also, there is already a clause in here which I think could also be cleaned up and expanded upon, and it says the lessee herein, this is the lessee is the Walton Club, by acceptance of the lease of this lease, guarantee and stipulate to save harmless the city of Fairfield, Iowa, as lessor from any liability which shall be incurred by the lessee's use of the lease premises, and the lessee shall indemnify the city of Fairfield from any claim arising from such liability. So that's basically, holding the city harmless, and that can be written real tight. I mean, I'm party to a lot of leases, and I know that, you can structure that. I mean, it's not, and make it so the city has the indemnification clauses and handled. So the lease, I think, is really critical. That needs to be, and the lease should really be sound and clarified. This is a pretty sloppy situation. I'd say there's about 4 reasons here why the city should not have undertaken that, just reading the lease, not to mention the implied one, which is it doesn't say anything about replacing the golf cart bridge. And since the Walton Club built the previous bridges, maintained them by themselves, they are the property of, they're mounted to city land, but they are the property of the Walton Club. So I think that's real clear. And I think, and this whole thing about, even though the city attorney has different opinions about the public use clause per the Constitution and per apparently whether this lease really even obligated the city to, I think that's what hasn't been determined. The DNR, thing, the judge, they said they weren't looking at constitutional questions and they weren't looking at contractual questions, like the lease document. And those really are important issues that I think that the city, A, has no obligation to build this bridge, and B, it violates the Constitution of Iowa to actually fund this private club that has a sign right out there before the bridge saying private use only. It doesn't say walk out here and fish. It says private use only for members of the Walton Club. And I think Brian's really right. I think that's a major issue. And basically the city just has to say no. And because the city is holding they're holding the lease. The Walton Club wants to lease this for 25 years. And it'll be great for everybody if they do. But the city can set the terms, and that's not an unreasonable term. I don't think the city should be expected to do this bridge, and I don't think it's fair to the citizens of Fairfield. Okay, that's it. Was there one other thing I had to say? I guess that's it. I appreciate the ability to speak, and I think the speakers ought to go on and maybe. My thing is I kind of agree with Brian. I think basically just say no, and that's totally valid. And I think Ed will address some of these issues, the fears that have been brought up about, suits and so forth. If the city says no to a previous construction contract, but I think a compromise is just pausing, particularly if the thing is going to be drained so late that they aren't going to be able to do construction until next spring. Then we're going to have a dry lake for, whatever it is, 6 months or something like that. I think that's like the worst case scenario. And I think pausing this construction and the drawdown is a modest request, and I'm hoping that gets brought before the council. It may. Anyway, thank you very much for listening.
Thanks, Roger.
Mayor, can I just address some of the things that Mr. Leahy just said?
Sure.
Just based on our property committee, meeting, because not everybody was present for that. Right. Walton Club does not lease the reservoir. They don't lease the reservoir, and I know that Mr. Leahy was kind of running roughshod over some of the very pertinent terms in that contract, which is so confusing apparently, but everything adjacent to the reservoir, near, you found a definition saying near to the reservoir. Yeah. So adjacent to the reservoir. So the city has decided, the city council, and every decision that we've made up until the question as to whether to pause actions that we have already determined we wanted to make have been completely unanimous. We decided with advice of council that it was our legal responsibility to do it because that's our liability. We're liable for that reservoir. The Walton Club does not own it. They do not lease it. We own it. It is our liability. And so I just want to make that very clear. The Walton Club does not lease. Walton Lake is everything adjacent to. So anything that is in the contract talking about adjacent to the reservoir or Walton Club's responsibility, the city's responsibility, none of that has anything to do with what is spanning the lake. So what has been decided previously by previous city councils, I can't speak to when it comes to maintenance of the bridge or who gets to build it, but we've decided that we want to protect our liability in this situation since it is our property. So I just wanted to make sure that that's clear.
And just for the public, so they know that the lease is in committee right now being reviewed, and so, you know, they don't have a recommendation yet, so I think we'll hear about that in another council meeting
Okay,
as they get closer to finishing.
sure. I'm just curious,
Recommendations.
Mr. Leahy, do you have the current lease?
I do.
I'm going to take a stab at this, but can you refer, I'm going to refer to paragraph 4 of that lease. I don't have it in front of me.
It's actually in his notes, under
Oh,
his
what is
name.
Oh, you have a copy? Can I take a look?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I actually gave copies to everyone on the property committee meeting.
right, I don't have them with me today. Today's property, okay.
Yeah, I don't, is this the third degree now?
No, it's not the third degree. I don't want to know. We don't have time. No.
Yeah, I'd like to finish this because we still have business to do, actual city business.
Yeah, I think it's, by the way, I think it's still, I don't think it's a proper interpretation that because the city owns the lake, the city owns the bridge that spans the lake. I think that's.
Oh, I'm
that's-
sorry. I mean
didn't say
paragraph
that
2.
was it.
Paragraph 2.
Oh, 2, I thought
I
you were
said
talking
it's
about
our
3.
responsibility.
Paragraph 2. Would you
and
read-
we've decided it's our
Yeah.
responsibility with our advice of counsel
Okay.
to protect our.
Yeah,
liability
I mean,
there.
I think that's,
I would like to read paragraph 2, or
Oh,
maybe,
go ahead.
you could read it. You want to?
yeah.
Go ahead, just read paragraph 2, that's all. That's
The
all I'm asking.
lessor, City of Fairfield, herein shall be obligated to maintain and/or repair any roads or bridges that are adjacent to said clubhouse, golf course, reservoir, and subdivision, including all City of Fairfield dedicated areas, i.e. streets, bridges, et cetera. So the city obviously would be maintaining anything at city, but here it says roads or bridges.
Right. I just want to point, that's the lease, that's our current lease. That's all I want to point out.
And the adjacent means adjacent to said clubhouse, golf. Obviously, they aren't maintaining the golf course.
Right.
The city, I understand but that's something I learned too from the golf course maintenance people, is they spend like $140,000 a year just grooming the golf course and the greens and mowing everything, and it's a pretty big project. And some
That's
of that,
why we
some of
lease
that
it to
city
them.
land,
Yeah,
some of
that's
that
why we-
city land too. I'm saying
Sure.
that's why they get the good deal on the
Right,
road. I understand that. I
right,
totally get
right.
what's happening. I think it's a good mutual relationship, with the one major exception of the golf cart bridge.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Roger. Appreciate it. Kathy Snow?
First of all, I want to thank the council for all you do. We're very fortunate in this town to have a council who cares and is incredibly patient, has shown incredible patience during this process. And I know that all of you want what's best for Fairfield, everyone in Fairfield. And I know that you're upset when any one of your residents is not happy about something. And these are frustrating times. I can understand why people are upset, and yet you did your due diligence of over 17 months now, first starting to talk about this situation in April of 2024. So you've done your research, you have done your due diligence, and I once again want to thank you for your service to this community. I also want people to take a good look at each and every one of you. You're public servants. Your wives, husbands, moms, dads, grandmas, grandpas, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters. You have families, you have careers. You are our neighbors as well. And I just want to say, from lying to people about you at Art Walk, attacking your ethics online, being allowed to present these lies in front of the very council that is now being maliciously undermined, people put safety at risk. And our city engineer physically and verbally threatened, contacting the state, wanting the state to revoke her license, her livelihood. This is not right. It's one reason why Chief Thomas has to be in front of the dais now. That's not right. And I just want to say that, the lake is beautiful now, and it will be beautiful and healthy once this project is over, and safe with this bridge. Silence can be golden. But Martin Luther King Jr. said, there comes a time when silence is betrayal. So that is why I can no longer sit in silence while our city is being vilified. And the attacks online by certain people in this group, and I feel really bad. I think some people weren't aware that our city engineer was physically or verbally assaulted, her license going to be revoked, or wanting that to happen. I think that some of you came into this just being misled, and I'm sorry for that. I'm trying really hard to remember that we're all God's children, and I sat here in the last meeting and hearing that the city isn't transparent, they don't communicate. If you can click on a link, I mean, everything is right there. And not only that, a transcript, the meeting minutes, the transcript, the video. If you can work a TV remote or you're online anyway, why not do your own research about what they have said, what they have done? They're trying to make this nice for everyone. So I just want to say that they've been trying to do their best, and they have just been really attacked online. And I don't know if, Jason, if you have anything there. I don't know how much time I have left, not much time, but there have been all kinds of misrepresentations and lies online. If you can forward that also. And it's not only our council, it's French Reniker, it's Drish, it's the Walton Club board that basically the underlying premise is to create this charter city and get rid of our local democracy. And that can't happen. To be able to lie, and there's so much deceit going on with everything that the city council has tried to do. They based a lot of things on meetings where people said they were fine with it. So once again, I feel bad that some people came into this not knowing the full picture of how serious this was. Our own city being vilified like this and attacked, it's not right. It's not right. It's creating bad blood under what is now, a bridge over troubled water, right? I mean, it's just terrible. And I also want to say that, if I could, the last meeting, very sacred words were used in a theatrical way, and it was very offensive. And that is one reason why I had to stand up today. Someone invoked very sacred words of Jesus on the cross, claiming that our city council, forgive them for they don't know what they're doing. That has no part in this. That is not comparable. Our city council has worked hard to try and make the right decisions here. And so I just want to say that, was that the last one, too? I'm so sorry. Yeah, so our city has undergone very blatant attacks like this. And now the Walton Club, anytime someone has made a statement of confirmation, just like this, they're playing hardball, they want the best issue or the best deal. You know, the club has many wealthy members. I don't know if you can advance again, please. Thank you so much. And that was based on the letter of clarification. But not only did they lie and misrepresent the Walton Club board, who has always said, hey, we can't do this. We don't want this. That was actually the first option before you very thoroughly vetted the other three options of a golf cart bridge, a culvert, and going around on 200th Street. But then to do that and then have the audacity to say later that they should be grateful for this $27,000 in donations. I mean, it's attacking someone's integrity, and it's slander, and it's defamation of character. And no matter what, it's denigrating, and it creates division. And I don't care if you wrap that in poetry or flowery words about fish and birds, it's still not right. And it has just created such a problem. And, you know, I had the opportunity to speak with a couple of people from this group and just had wonderful conversations, and it didn't have to be like this. People stoked the division and with rhetoric like this, and it just shouldn't be allowed, and it needs to stop because it's dividing our community.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Ed Noyes?
Thank you very much. I wanted to say that I appreciate a more calm demeanor tonight. It seems like we're communicating a little better than we did before, and there's some back and forth which we didn't have before, which was quite troubling before. So I just want to say thank you for everyone, because it seems like we're actually talking with each other now. I'll reiterate what she just said. When this first came to the city's attention, it was clear that there was an option to do nothing. In fact, that was the first option that was listed. And then it was said that we can't do that because we've been told that the lease requires the city to do this and to pay for it. I think a fair read, not only my read, but the legal read of the meaning of those words in the lease did not say that the city had to do this. It was purely discretionary, and that was admitted last week at the city council. So there's a big difference between a discretionary expending for something that city admittedly cannot afford, which also came up last week. They can't afford the public library, having trouble with the fire station. If the city council would have known at the time, or anybody would have known, that this do nothing was actually a legitimate option because of a fair interpretation of the lease clause, then I'm thinking you probably would have said do nothing, and we would not even be here. We wouldn't be talking. And I do believe that, yeah, I understand that the Walton Club doesn't want to be responsible for the bridge. Well, I don't want to be responsible for the bridge either, but am I responsible? So if the city's not responsible and the Walton Club wants a bridge, then they can decide whether they want a bridge or not. It's frankly a cost-benefit analysis. That's what it is for them. That's what it was the first time they built the two bridges. They decided it would be beneficial for them to build a golf cart bridge. They came together and they built it. So that's what happened. I think the other problem that we're facing here is, so that decision to not do nothing, we wouldn't be here right now. And then it went down this pathway where I believe the city council and the committees were told that it's not possible to have suspension bridges that would work. They said they couldn't be made long enough and they couldn't be made to have enough weight limits. I think that was factually in error, and there was never done any real request it's called an RFP for this style bridge. It was never done. And all of a sudden, then you get Ed Hipp coming along, well, hold on a second, here we got this company that'll do it. It's 80 foot long, it's got a 40-year warranty, we can make it longer for $250 a foot, and we just set it down if we back it up from the abutments. So that appears to be a real possibility still that we really seriously should look at. The other thing that happened is that we were told, and we're being told, that the city could be sued by Drish. That is factually and legally impossible because there's what's called a condition precedent. This is Law School 101, contract law. If there's a condition precedent in a contract, that condition has to be fulfilled before the contract can be enforced. In this case, it's the approval of the permit, the dam permit. The Drish cannot do this without that approval, neither can the city. So that was a false fear tactic against everyone, and it was also used, frankly, to get the ALJ to say, well, I guess we better give them that, we better stop this stay because they're going to get sued. So unfortunately, that fear has permeated the process. But one thing that we have discovered, interestingly enough, is there's two permits here. There's the drawdown permit and there's the dam permit. The drawdown permit has been lifted. They've given the permit, but it's entirely dependent and interdependent on the project permit, which is the culvert installation. The problem we're having now is the city has went ahead and rushed into draining the lake without knowing whether or not this culvert project is even going to be approved. And also, which is interesting, in the September 4th letter that went out to the homeowners, it gave all these people the right to comment within a certain period, and today's the last of the 14 days, by the way. So the draining of the lake started to be occurred before the comment period was even done. That is in violation of the rights of the homeowners. And the homeowners have been upset for a long time because they felt they weren't involved. That's how this whole thing started. Tom Terrian came forward, tried to give some input, it was disregarded, a decision was made without the input of the homeowners. So now we have a very precarious situation. The danger is not that the city gets sued by Drish. The danger is if the city proceeds, drains this lake, and by God, DNR doesn't grant them the project permit. Then what happens? There's a lot of people that aren't very unhappy about this. They genuinely don't want this to happen. So the city is actually, in my opinion, John can say otherwise, in legal peril if they continue not knowing whether the permit's going to be granted. I think it's a serious problem, and it also completely is in contempt of the rights of the homeowners to opine, to give their comments. Because the city's just moving ahead regardless of what they have to say. That's what they're doing. The city is moving ahead regardless of what the homeowners have to say. So that's a serious problem, in my opinion.
Can you wrap up, Ed?
There has been a resolution that you got. It's a resolution that's very clear and very simple. And that is that the city would simply agree to hold off until they find out if the permit is granted. In fact, before I even filed any papers, I sent an email and made phone calls trying to get the city to agree. Rather than I have to go to this district court action and keep filing all this legal stuff, can we just agree to hold off on the draining until we find out what the DNR wants to do? Are they going to give the permit or not give the permit? So this resolution that is proposed is that very simple in respect to the rights of the homeowners and the fact that the city needs this permit to go forward and they don't know when or if it's going to be granted, that they really should stop right now and just let the process play itself out. So that's the proposal. I'm hoping that it gets considered. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Thank you, Ed. Appreciate it. Okay, last. Vesna? Vesna Glavina? Should say your whole name.
Question? Can I ask Mr. Noyes a question? No, you don't want me to?
Hang on, Vesna.
Just a real
It's
quick
like
question.
we have a quick question
Just a quick question,
for
Mr.
Mr.
Noyes.
Noyes.
So there was a hearing last Monday where the hearing was about whether or not the city had to stay the drawdown of the lake. And you participated as a pro se, as a citizen, right? You're the opposing party.
Yes, I appealed it, and there was a hearing.
And
on
the
whether
ruling
that
was
stay would
made.
continue.
Correct. The ruling was made that the stay would be lifted, and you had until Thursday at 5 o'clock to file an appeal, right?
I did file a direct appeal.
Did you
to the
file the appeal
director
by
of the
Thursday at 5
DNR
o'clock?
Because I understood that I had the right to do that, going directly to the DNR. Yes, I did.
The order was to file with district court.
No, it didn't say that. What it said was, what he talked about, it's not in the order, by the way. He talked about the fact that there's constitutional issues that cannot be dealt with at the ALJ. All the political proceedings that went on cannot be dealt with at the ALJ. All the public use doctrine and public trust doctrines cannot be used, and those all have to go to district court. What it didn't say was that you couldn't, and I believe I had the right to, appeal directly to the director because the actual processes of the DNR, of the interconnection of these permits, was being violated.
Were you given until a certain date and time to file your appeal?
So I went ahead and filed that, and I found out late in the game that she thought it should just go to the district court. Then I got a hold of, I sent these emails out, trying to make peace and see if we could agree, and within less than 24 hours, within a few hours of that happening, of me trying to make peace, I found out that they'd already started it, and on 4/20 of that day, I filed the appeal or the petition for judicial review at the district court. And there is, by the way, there is a hearing scheduled on the motion to stay right now. So that district court could actually stay this drawdown. We got a problem though, obviously. The drawdown is going to be done. You guys are doing so fast that it's going down fast. I was told they put I was told the city installed an extra piping today to get more water out of the lake faster. My concern is the city is trying to make this a fait accompli, so it wouldn't make any difference whether or not the homeowners are ultimately successful, or whether or not the DNR says you shouldn't be doing this. It's gone. The lake's gone. Everything. That's it. Fish are dead. 1 to 3 years, and then the DNR comes and says, "Oh, I'm sorry, you guys, you don't have a permit." And the DNR could easily do that because right in the letter to the homeowners, they acknowledged that they'd already received environmental concerns and alternative discussions. And as you are probably aware, the DNR themselves said that this bridge choice is less healthy for the lake. And the DNR is supposed to make the choices that are healthier for the lake. So it's very possible, I'm telling you, that the DNR could say, you need to look at these other alternatives. People are showing these other alternatives. Take a look before you drain this lake. You'd be smart to do so. That's what's going on.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks, Ed. Okay.
Can I ask a question? Ed, when is the court hearing?
Unfortunately,
We haven't been served yet, and we didn't accept service, and we were only because of the rules that affect the town, which is open meetings law and media notice. We can't even have a closed session hearing about this till tomorrow. So if you've already got a hearing set, that's all on you.
Just hear me out for a second, John.
All right.
It wasn't until 3 o'clock, maybe 3:30 this afternoon, that the district court formally accepted even though I filed it back Friday. So I didn't have a case number, I didn't everything. And I did forward you the 3 documents. You got those.
I agree. And the very first thing we did was set a closed session hearing to talk with the council about what our position should be, and to talk about your pleadings and how we should respond, and also to talk with outside counsel. And all of those things are very reasonable, and they're absolutely following the open meetings law.
That's fine. What do you need from me?
I need patience.
Well, I need patience.
You're a bull in a china closet when you start this
I asked you if you would
stuff.
accept service, so I didn't have to serve you by a sheriff.
And that's exactly why we're having a closed session meeting tomorrow, but we have to have 2 days every time we act as a municipality, and you don't
The
get it.
hearing for the October 13th was just set around 3 or 4 o'clock today. I just got it.
It's set for October?
For whatever reason, the court set the stay hearing for October the 14th. That's horrible because it's way too late. So I also filed a motion for a temporary restraining order, which is ex parte, as I'm sure you probably know.
Yes, I know.
And she hasn't ruled on that yet because there's going to be irreparable damage. I think she needs to rule on that. I'm going to ask her again tomorrow to try to get an emergency hearing, which is how I casted it, so that you can be there. I don't care. We need a hearing to see whether or not this drawdown
We better
should
be
continue.
there, yeah.
We really do.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Okay, great, thank you, Ed, appreciate it. Vesna?
So, Vesna, Lavina, Ward 1. Last council meeting, Mr. Gandy dismissed draining or drawing down or whatever, killing the lake, Walton Lake, as something destined to become a nothing burger, just like the giant grain elevator project, which did in fact turn out to be a nothing burger for most, though not for all. One happy ending in the minds of some is no basis for throwing away decency and the precautionary principle. I'd like to bring you up to date on another project, which this council has likely filed away in their nothing burger folder. For simplicity's sake, I will focus on just a single unfortunate consequence of that project. I don't know how exactly the decision was made to disregard basic environmental principles by choosing to gut net wetland from end to end in order to lay down a massive storm sewer when a proper use of that wetland...
That has nothing to do with the Walton Lake, so you need to stick to
It is pertinent.
You need to stick to the topic,
I am.
please.
You have assured us that the lake will recover, and I would like to explore the possibility that these assurances don't always pan out. Okay? It was Mr. Gandy who made the nothing burger comment, and I'm trying to address and respond to that comment. It was he who brought up the grain elevators. So, a proper use of the wetland would have harnessed its ability to absorb the runoff instead. Those who knew better were aghast. Their concerns and objections were dismissed. They were told the wetland would be restored, would end up better than ever. This is not what happened. Those in charge of managing that wetland are too stoic, too loyal, probably too overworked to complain. But any expert will tell you that the project turned a richly biodiverse ecosystem of native species into a battlefield of competing invasives incapable of sustaining the complex, interconnected web which comprises a fully functional wetland. Between an advancing carpet of teasel smothering native vegetation from one side and purple loosestrife and Sericea lespedeza turning diversity into an ecological wasteland from another, the web is unraveling. Net Wetlands has taken a hit beyond man's capability to reverse at this time. Nature may yet set things straight in our world, but that is not for this council to assume, and miracles shouldn't figure in its engineering reports. The city's sanguine assurances that natural systems can be killed and resurrected on demand may have worked out in an earlier era when nature's abundance seemed literally infinite, its native resilience robust, and its environmental burden a mere fraction of what it is today. Today's natural systems are under immense strain. Threads are snapping at the rate of 100 to 200 species lost per day. We don't have time for the prideful ignorance which punishes our world with its hideous vision of dead lakes and overbuilt bridges, costing our cities multiples of what they might, while disregarding alternatives, offers of assistance, and expressions of a citizenry's deepening horror. I plan to keep my remarks brief, but the fact you've gone and pulled the trigger makes brevity impossible, because there's no brief way to speak truth to this folly, which you would not consider profanity, as much as I deem your decision to kill Walton Lake profanity. Some have boasted that our city will end up thanking them for contriving to shepherd this overbuilt bridge solution to its ghoulish end. Frankly, the past few months recall to me the sordid tradition of petty tyrants and personal field fiefdoms, And I need to interject here that you've been very different today. Today's been a very, very different tone, and I'm very grateful. And I might have written a different set of comments if you had been as open in the past as you have been today, so I apologize for that. But I do shudder to imagine the furtive deliberations that engineered the rush to start draining last Friday. I'm addressing those members of council who respect life and the needs and the will of their people. I hope you will align with your constituents to stop this unfolding horror, as some of you have attempted already in multiple ways. Thank you for that. Attempt it again. Know that you're right and be bold. It is not too late. The lake is not beyond rescue. Please be the heroes that Fairfield deserves. And don't fall for incantations of liability. Our nation has built countless fully insurable bridges without draining its waterways and lakes. Do not cave in to the intonation of process and contractual obligations when change orders are common practice. We live in an age of unspeakable environmental atrocities. I implore those of you with the courage to do so, to say no to its creep in our community. Fairfield has a different vision for itself. Align with that. A few days ago, someone drove up to the shores of Walton Lake, got out of her car, and stood gazing over the water, tears streaming down her cheeks. I speak for her and for thousands of others.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay.
Just for the record, Bess, no, I didn't pull any trigger. I was stating my opinion.
The trigger. Are you aware of nothing but man?
Yeah, but I didn't just make sure that the trigger analogy or metaphor is yours, not mine. Not me.
It's a colloquial phrase.
Okay, all right, okay.
You can look up it. You're allowed to say dictionary. It just means that you've made the process. You've started the process.
Okay, I'm just make sure we're not.
So any dictionary slang.
Sure. Prefer not that language though.
Yeah.
I prefer it.
Yes.
Because there's some extreme factual problems.
Okay, please.
The only project in the wetlands that I'm aware of that the city has done was a sanitary sewer project, not a storm sewer project. And the project was actually done in order to keep the inflow and infiltration out of our sanitary sewer system, and that project was required of the city by the EPA under our EPA compliance order.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also the lids of the manholes that are in the net wetland are sealed and locked in order to prevent any storm water from getting into the sanitary sewer. So I have other things to say, but I want to make sure that everyone knows the city, any projects that I'm aware of, the city is not draining the wetlands with the project that we completed several years ago.
Okay.
Melanie, can you
Thank
clarify something for me? So the lift was, the stay was lifted, but we currently do not have a permit to start this project from the DNR. Is that accurate in what was said
Let me
earlier?
explain that in a minute.
We have a permit to do the 8 42-inch box culverts. That was issued in March upon initial complaints from concerns from citizens. The DNR read through or decided that there needed to be 2 permits, the drawdown and the construction permit, even though the practice over the last several years has been to only issue 1 permit. So that is when the discussion of the drawdown permit was started. So the city has had a construction permit since March.
Okay.
As on the 8 42-inch culverts, and that was bid. Now, we did do a change order for the box culvert to Mr. Brown's points that we have not given them notice to proceed to order those materials until the construction permit on the revised would come through. We do understand that we don't have permission for the 8 by 10 box culvert. If the city, the authorization of the council has been that change order, but we can also go back to the 842-inch box culverts, which we have both the drawdown and the construction permit for that project. Because through citizen comment, the DNR has made it into 2 separate permits, legally making them separate, that they are issued separate and they're not contingent upon each other.
And then at the rate that we're draining the lake today, when do you expect it to be empty? Or
Depends.
drawn down enough?
It depends on whether we get any rain, because I believe that the rain that we got over the weekend pretty much filled back up anything that has come down. So I would say that we are 14 days minimum, closer to 21 days.
So, in your professional opinion, if our lead time to even order the culvert is 12 weeks, is it, like, do we really need to drain the lake right now?
Back to Mr. Brown's point, if I could predict the weather, I wouldn't be here.
Right.
I'd be telling fortunes in Vegas. So, I mean, I really can't.
What would keep us from draining the lake would be as if it froze, correct?
Say that again.
What would keep us from draining the lake would be if it froze.
Correct. Yes, because we don't want that void between the surface ice and where whatever remains.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Okay, thank you, Melanie. So before we proceed, I wanted to.
question.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Figure out when do you expect, or would you expect the DNR to issue the permit for the box culvert model?
All I can say is that the 14-day comment period is through today.
So they're gonna wait until that period is over before they issue the permit?
We have not spoken to the DNR on when they're gonna be issuing it.
Okay. But there's no intention, if the permit is not for the box culvert is not issued and the drawdown is complete, there's no intention to go to the prior permit and construct that?
I think my recommendation would be to see where we are as far as any other legal proceedings. We typically see the DNR construction permits issued within 2 months of submitting it. We're at about a month. So hopefully by the time it's drawn down, we have the permit. But if we don't, I think the council needs to consider that. Even if it's doing a notice to proceed for demolition, or I think that there are options at that point, but considering that it's a long time to drain it, and then time in order to dry out around the construction area, there's a long lead time on what the lake needs to do in order for the construction to begin.
Which may not be till next spring.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Okay, thank you. So before we proceed, I just want to read one thing, and then John is going to give a summary of the administrative law decision. But in a question with one of the council members that I had, they had a question related to if the city would back out of the contract with Drish Construction, does it hurt their bond rating? So this is basically the answer to that question. Yes, the city backing out of an Iowa construction contract can negatively affect its bond rating. So let me just read some of these points. Financial risk. Credit rating agencies such as Moody's and S&P evaluate a city's ability to manage its debt and meet its financial commitments. Backing out of a contract shows a potential failure to meet obligations, which increases the perceived financial risk of the city. Contractual penalties. The city may face financial penalties and legal costs from the contractor, which can strain the city's budget. Lawsuits and legal expenses. The contractor can sue the city for breach of contract, leading to costly legal battles and potential judgments against the city. Reputational damage. A significant breach of contract can damage the city's reputation, making investors and creditors more hesitant to invest in its bonds. Future borrowing costs. A lower bond rating can result in higher interest rates on future bonds, increasing the cost of borrowing for the city and its taxpayers. That influence the impact of contract terms, reason for termination, city's health, materiality of the breach. So in short, I'm not going to read this whole thing, but in short, a city's decision to back out of a construction contract can trigger a cascade of legal and financial issues that would almost certainly cause a bond rating agency to lower its rating. You know, and I think Mr. Brown alluded to potential, you know, possible issues in the future with bidders and costs, et cetera. So I hope that's helpful at least to answer that question. And I would like John. Okay, John, can you do this in 5 minutes?
I don't know if I can do anything in 5 minutes.
So we still have business to do, so I'd really like to get this done.
All right. Monday the 15th, we had an administrative law judge hearing with Thomas Augustin, who's a specialized judge working in administrative cases, and he indicated to myself, Ed Noyes, and Noah Popelreiter, who is an assistant attorney general assigned to the DNR, that this particular matter is one of many of its type that is referred to him because of his specialization. So we had a hearing from 1 o'clock going forward into the afternoon, a couple hours. I think it lasted an hour and 58 minutes. By the hour and a half mark, the judge was talking to us about how he was going to rule. And he ultimately determined that the motion to vacate the stay, that was a motion that the city filed, was going to be granted, that the stay did not appear necessary, that he was not satisfied by anything presented by Mr. Noyes, that there was a irreparable risk, irreversible possible environmental disaster on his hands. Those terms that were part of Mr. Noyes' presentation were not agreed with either by the city or by the DNR with its assistant attorney general. Assistant attorney general presented a brief actually indicating that they felt in this particular situation that the city was proper in its dealing with what was presented to it, that as far as the things that were known to the DNR director of that division, a lady named Casey Welty, that there did not appear to be any problem with DNR offering to assist in the things that had been presented at the public meetings. Public meetings talked about this would be very temporary, that it would not be environmentally disastrous, that that's not what the DNR does or supports, and that after the period of drawdown, the month or two of construction involved, and the refill, that there were very well-used programs, and he offered an example of one you could take a Sunday drive and see. The well-used programs have to do with restoration, the restocking, the surveying, and those things that had been discussed at the public meetings out at Walton. They also referenced the Lake Geode restoration and restocking, which has happened in a period of 2 years. That particular situation happened right after COVID, and very clearly it's a success. So when I hear somebody say they don't believe that can happen or it's impossible, that's obviously their opinion, but it's not the opinion of the DNR regional representatives, the DNR directors in Des Moines, or the Assistant Attorney General that reviews things with them. And it wasn't the opinion of the Administrative Law Judge. So the Administrative Law Judge ordered that the stay would be lifted, that the permit would be issued for the drawdown, but there was then a discussion about the notice letter, which Mr. Noyes mentioned, about 14 days input. That's actually a different issue than the permit for drawdown. It's an issue about the change order of August 8th and the fact that the DNR actually felt that the box culvert bridge, because of its 8x10 opening and the way it would be mounted in that gap, would benefit more fully water life, water flow, and animal and fauna that would go through that opening than the metal 42-inch culvert group laid side by side. So the change order, which was sent up to DNR right away after the August 8th meeting, didn't get set up for an immediate action by DNR, and this thing was still on the table for a hearing the next week. The Administrative Law Judge talked about the 14-day suggested notice period and said that isn't a situation that doesn't have some discretion with it, that whether it's a reasonable time to give 7 days, 10 days, or 14 days notice is pretty much the call of the judge. But in that particular situation, that because it had been raised but it had been denied, Mr. Noyes asked to have the hearing of the 15th continued for 30 days so that they could get in the time for input, which really would have ended on September 18th, 14 days after the 4th. But the judge gave him essentially until the 18th at 5 o'clock to use an alternative in district court. Mr. Noyes also had another option under the Iowa Administrative Code and the Administrative Procedure Act, and that would be to go over the head of the Administrative Law Judge, over the head of Casey Welty, the Division Director at DNR, and go directly to the statewide director for DNR. And that's what he did, and that director basically rejected his request, which put him back on the ground back here at Fairfield to still use the appeal mechanisms available by going to district court. At that point, on Friday at about 10 minutes before the courthouse closed, there was a filing in district court. It's a suit against the city and the DNR, and it does have, coupled with it, a motion for a stay or in equivalent terms in district court and rule of civil procedure, a preliminary or a temporary restraining order, and then a preliminary injunction. There was some back and forth with Mr. Noyes and I over the weekend. Saturday afternoon, he was courteous to me and sent me the pleadings. The pleadings otherwise would come to my office sometime today after they came out of the port over at the electronic data management system that the district court uses. So if Mr. Noyes says he got them back from the court at 3:30 this afternoon, that's when I would have got them, except for the fact that he emailed them to me. So at this point, tomorrow, the city at noon will have a meeting of the council. It'll be a closed session. We will have another outside counsel also participating in that conversation. And I expect that we will make a decision as far as the manner in which we're going to proceed. how we're going to respond to Mr. Noyes' motion for a stay of this proceeding and injunctive relief in district court. I also expect that as far as the drawdown, which has been going on since the evening of the 18th, that there will be a discussion about what the council's wishes on that being continued. I also expect that there will be a discussion about things that we have to do as far as the rest of the circumstances that relate to this. We have apparent divide in our city council, so there's a case called Town of Sussex. We're going to have a talk with the council about the fact that some councilmen don't agree with others, and somehow that's going to have to be worked out as far as who gets represented by who. The U.S. Supreme Court's fairly specific that everybody's entitled to a representation for their own opinion. So that's one issue that we didn't see coming, but until last council meeting, we were pretty much unanimous in the way that we were voting on this project. So that will be discussed. The insurance consequences as far as our provisions in our ICAP coverage and whether any of the actions that we undertake at this point or any of the positions that are taken by particular council people or particular city officials could cause us to be excluded from coverage from ICAP. ICAP has what is called a reservation of rights provision in our very broad coverage. And if they would notify us that they're reserving rights as far as part of the circumstances related to what needs to be defended in this lawsuit, we're going to be left in limbo as far as part of the council. I don't like the possibility of that, but that's going to get discussed tomorrow, and we're going to get it sorted. As far as what the mayor read you about the bond circumstances, our city's in the best bond rating situation we've had as far as our public finance since I've been your city attorney in 35 years. And that's partly because the past few administrators have been very careful. It's also because we've had good financial advice from people like Travis Squires that comes down and talks to us every year. And it's because of wisdom from a prior mayor seeing the benefits of selling the Logan apartments to give us a nest egg and some more asset base, which we're now being forced to spend under House File 718, which isn't this council's fault, and the public needs to understand that that's a piece of legislation that most towns hate right now. But other than that, we don't want our bond status and our best bond rating damaged by being through something that could turn into a lawsuit that lasts years. So that's a very realistic view of how this thing could go if there's going to be one filing after another, which you have a constitutional right to do, taking us all the way through the logical thing, all the way up through the appellate court and the Iowa Supreme Court. We'll still be talking about this in 2027. That is the reality of what the court system suit involves now, and we're going to talk about that tomorrow at noon as far as the alternatives. Other than that, one of the things that was discussed here and suggested was that we just dump this back on the Walton Club's lap. We had a letter read here today as far as what the Walton Club was prepared to do and what the Walton Club tried to sort out as far as what it felt was misrepresented. I'm not sure what is being asked of us here as far as that discussion of the lease, but if the Walton Club is in earnest saying they really don't have the capacity to go ahead and take on the financial responsibility of building this bridge, then is what is being asked that the Walton Club will be denied its lease, that the Walton Club maybe just should close. I don't get it. I don't understand that, and that's something else we'll have to talk. We're still, I think, midstream on the discussion, the negotiation of the lease. I don't know where the property committee is planning on scheduling that next. that'll be a topic also. So tomorrow at noon, we're going to go into closed session as far as purpose of talking pending litigation. And that's as much as I can tell you, except if you have questions about this. I have the transcript from the administrative law judge with me. It's clear that the administrative law judge felt that the risks in this situation are to the city, and that the irreparability, the irreversibility, the forever lost lake is not realistic, and that the DNR standing there by our side, both in what they briefed and told the administrative law judge, but where they are right now as far as their willingness to restore and restock the lake after this project would be long behind us. So my understanding is this project's still doable this fall. My understanding is also that we haven't yet been called on our breach, even though we're past our late start date of August 18th. So that's where we are. We'll talk about it more tomorrow noon.
Right, thank you. One last comment before we move to resolution, action items, and ordinances. I really want to thank all of you tonight for everyone's composure and your thoughts, and when Chief had to leave, that you honored that and what his request was. And he's got a tough job, and we appreciate what he does, and we appreciate our police officers who risk their life every day and every night in our community, and it's not easy right now. So, before I get more verklempt, let's move on to resolution, action items, and ordinances. Our first action item is consideration of the installation of a boat ramp at Walton Lake. Mel, do you want to talk about this at all?
Honestly, I don't remember where the request or the discussion came up, but looking at the property that the city owns, the second page of the attachment includes the proposed location. The first page is a cost estimate showing, oh goodness, I didn't print it off because I didn't expect to be this late and not remember what
$2,575.
2024.
Well, if you include everything.
Yeah, whether it includes a gate and exactly how
Yeah.
the council wants to move forward with that. But the scope would be a 14-foot wide gravel boat ramp that would take it into Walton Lake into the main body of Walton Lake. And there was additional cost for whether we wanted to put a gate in, and it's gravel, not pavement. It meets the slope requirements of what DNR expects for a boat ramp on their design standards. I think the only other thing to mention is that we can stake it out. I don't believe there are any large trees in this path, particularly if we moved forward and we relocated an electric pole. So the expense of relocating the electric pole is not included in there. But by relocating that, and Doug, you might remember as well, I don't believe there were any large trees. There was some, I will say, more brush right along the edge of the water, but there were no mature trees in this construction.
You were talking to me.
Sorry, Doug Rainer. Doug Rainer.
Because we were down there too with the.
Oh, okay.
With the ad hoc committee.
Gotcha. So and I guess the approval of this would be to allow the street.
I'm sorry. I thought you told us that night only one tree would have to be removed.
Okay.
And it was not a large one.
And that less than 4 inches. I mean, it was not a large one.
Right.
And so authorization of this, if you want the street committee to move forward with it, get this fall. I mean, you can give us a time frame, but my assumption is a positive motion would be authorizing the street crew to start installing this as their schedule allows.
Make the motion that we authorize the installation of a boat ramp at Walton Lake.
Second.
Okay, then moved by Flornoy, second by Gandy to authorize the street crew to.
Oh,
And I just want to clarify that we're all okay with that location. I mean, can I get that in the motion, I guess?
well, okay. Can I rephrase my motion?
Yeah, go ahead.
We'll
Friendly
decide
amendment.
later if we're okay
So,
with it.
yeah.
Just kidding.
That's why I would like it in the motion.
So I just would say I'll make the motion to authorize the installation of the boat ramp as indicated on the accompanying map
Thank you.
and to include the gate.
Thank you.
Okay,
Second.
okay. So the motion is to authorize the street crew to go ahead and build the boat ramp with a gate on that land located on the map there. Any discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Esty.
Yes.
Kness.
Yes.
Rowe.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Great, thank you. That was approved unanimously. Next action item is consideration of engagement letter with Allers and Cooney.
Okay, so we have, a couple meetings ago, the council approved an intended use plan application for step 4 sanitary sewer improvements, which is now, the west interceptor sewer. The next 2 action items is letters or engagement agreements for Allers and Cooney and JCG. There are step 4A, which is from Grease Lightning Lift Station to just a little bit beyond Libertyville Road, includes 4 or 5 property owners, depending on whether we end up getting a temporary easement from one of them. And then there's another 10 to 12 property owners on 4B. So Allers agreement does not have a not to exceed number, but is an engagement agreement that would put the work at as an hourly contract for those 15 property owners. With everything that John's office has going on, we have asked Allers to do all of the real estate work or all of the legal work, not just the condemnation process, but since they do typically advise us in the condemnation process, that they will, for the few property owners on step 4A, we will just have them do all of it. And then 4B, we'll talk about it. But so this would be, the first one is for Allers, and then I can mention something on JCG for the next one.
Make the motion that we accept the letter of engagement from Allers and Cooney.
Okay, moved by Flournoy.
Just to be clear, this is just for the sewer, right? Like that's the only expense it authorizes.
Yes, so the water portion of step 4A, and I'm gonna look and make sure, so in this letter, they are referencing specifically step 4 sanitary sewer improvements, and that the water portion is all within public right of way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, was there a second?
Second.
A second by Kness. So there's a motion and a second to approve the Allers and Cooney engagement letter. Any discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Kness.
Yes.
Rowe.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Esty.
Yes.
Toohill.
Great, thank you. That was approved unanimously. And now we have one, consideration of services agreement with JCG.
So JCG's agreement is also an hourly or time and materials agreement. They do have a not to exceed estimate of $37,000 for those first 5 parcels. That is an estimate. If things go well in any of the negotiations, we don't have to spend all that money. And if they don't go as well, we'll bring an amendment back to the city council. The other thing I wanted to mention is the reason why we're getting them on board now is we want to start setting up some public meetings, meeting with a couple of the property owners to fine tune the route. And so we want to get JCG at the table while we're having those preliminary discussions, so that once we do go to purchase any of those easements, the landowner is familiar with JCG, JCG is familiar with them, and they've kind of been in the process from the beginning. Even though we're still fine-tuning the alignment next to a couple of the houses.
Okay, is there a motion to proceed?
Move to approve.
Moved by Gandy. Second by Esty to approve this services agreement with JCG Land Services. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Gandy.
Yes.
Esty.
Yes.
Kness.
Yes.
Rowe.
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Toohill.
Thank you. Approved unanimously. Last is a resolution, consideration of financial support for Dexter Laundry. I'd like Mr. Ed Malloy to come up and just tell us about this project.
Good evening, Council. I have with me this evening Spencer Boyer, who is with the management of Dexter Laundry, and they have a planned expansion. This will include a building, new equipment, and there'll be at least 6 new jobs that'll be created. I think I'll have Spencer talk to you a little bit about the details of the expansion, but they are applying for an Iowa Economic Development Authority grant for the creation of high-quality jobs. And part of the grant application requires a city match. But what can be used is the tax abatement that they would ordinarily receive for a project like this as the match. The IEDA is so enthusiastic about this expansion that they've already approved the grant, so it is really contingent on you to support the resolution tonight to complete the grant. But again, this will be dollars that would be ordinarily be rebated to Dexter once they've completed the building through the tax abatement program. So I'll ask Spencer to talk a little bit about the expansion.
Yeah. So the expansion right now, we currently have a paint system that's over 50 years old, and it takes up a large footprint in our building. When that goes down, our business comes to a screeching halt, and it's hands on fire to replace. And being as it's old, it does go down periodically. So our board approved a project to add an extension, because we don't currently have a footprint inside the building, to have a seamless transition from the old paint system to the new paint system. So there would be a 150 foot by 150 foot building added to the northern side of our building, and we'll have to reroute some utilities in the fire lane to accommodate that are currently routed through that. So we will add the building. That will be completed around Q3 next year is the current estimates. And then the new conveyor system, it includes 4 wash baths, so and a curing oven and a drying oven, and then a paint booth. And so all of those pieces of equipment are lumped into this roughly $9 million, our current estimate of investment on this. With that, if we do have the 6 jobs will be retained. If we do have our paint system go down and it's so old we don't have parts that we're able to get to replace this paint system, then we will have to reduce our staff by 6 that are all currently our painters on the line, and then outsource all of this to somewhere else in Iowa. So that's the rough overview of what we're doing.
Great.
If you have any
Sounds like an
questions.
exciting project, and appreciate your investment here in Fairfield. And anything else, Ed?
Just mention that the calculation on the tax abatement was done by Steve Wemme, the county assessor, so that's an approximate amount, but it's good to know that $54,079 will come in as property taxes once this is completed.
Great.
So we appreciate your support for the resolution.
Great, thank you.
I'd move to approve the resolution to consider the financial support for Dexter Laundry.
Second.
Moved by Kness, second by Flournoy. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Kness.
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Esti.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Rowe.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Great, thank you. That was approved unanimously. Under the mayor's report, I do have some appointments on Beautification Commission. Micah Jones is a new member, and Raymond Ward replaces Philippa Meacham. These were sent to me by Deb Williamson, the chair of Beautification, so I'd approve a motion to approve these two people.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Kness, second by Gandy. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Thank you, that was approved unanimously. And also to the Carnegie Historical Museum Board, I want to appoint Barbara Kistler to replace John Godwin.
So moved.
Moved by Kness,
Second.
second by Gandy. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, that was approved unanimously as well. And just a reminder, the Hy-Vee Black Party is from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturday. So anybody want to come sit at the table and talk to people, you know, the grocery shoppers, and there'll be lots of other vendors out there, so it's kind of a fun event. And
Is the city going to be there?
Yes.
Was that right?
Yeah,
The
we're gonna have a
city?
table.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. John, do you have anything else for the city attorney report?
I think I'm gonna leave it alone tonight. I had about 4 things, but I don't wanna take up that
Oh,
much time, so.
Maybe we could squeeze out of here by 10 o'clock.
No, that's fine.
So down to administrator and department reports. The chief of police would like you to set Friday, October 31st, 2025, from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. for trick or treat night. So, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Esti.
Second.
Second by Kness. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, that was
Thank you. My daughter will now stop texting me every day when
Right?
I appreciate it.
Okay, we'll look forward to the Little Goblins on Friday, October 31st from 5:30 to 7:30, and turn on your porch light if you want to have trick-or-treaters. Okay, city administrator report, or project update first.
Just a few things to point out. The rec center locker room floors, Pro Maintenance of Hutchinson, Minnesota moved in today. So it was posted, I know on our Facebook, I think on our website as well, that those locker rooms, both of them are going to be closed starting today, I think for 2 weeks. But again, I don't have any memory left at this point in the evening. But so that work is starting, and if anyone is still listening to the council meeting at this point, out there in the public, that the locker rooms are closed. Then on Adams Avenue, the residents over there have received a notice, started to notice the work going on out there, but the city crews, shout out to them, they have started working on concrete patches on Adams Avenue between Main Street and 6th Street. And that is in anticipation of bidding an asphalt overlay project within the next month. By having city crews complete the concrete work, we're estimating that we're saving around $30,000, even upwards of $50,000, depending on what the bid would have come in at. So again, shout out to the crews for starting work on that. And then a little bit of good news is Lamson Woods, the Lamson Woods Playground. The new glider is fully installed and the mulch is done around it. There is still a little bit of work to be completed at Lamson Woods, but I'm told that the glider can be used. Dave didn't go out and try it. We didn't want to work comp claim, but I have been. I have been told. I've been told that it is ready to.
Is that the zip lines?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We can't use the word zip line.
I'm sorry.
ICAP doesn't want us to use the word zip line.
I'm sorry.
It's glider.
The gliders.
Yeah.
I've seen kids on them and they're like, they're really enjoying themselves.
Yep. Yep.
There's like a line to it. So I can't even.
Yeah, we're all gonna be out there.
Yeah. Not on city time, okay, people? And then lastly, I believe door hangers were hung today. If not, street crews are going to be doing it tomorrow. That the quote from LL Pelling that was approved at last council meeting for the seal coat out at Walton Lake within the subdivision. LL Pelling is going to be working Wednesday. We'll post something on social media tomorrow, but I believe street crews, if they didn't do it today, they're going to be doing it tomorrow, posting orange tags on people's doors, notifying them of that work coming up.
Great. Thank
Be
you.
able to use the
City administrator.
Remember, October 4th is our study session in this room from 8:30 to 12 p.m. Is our work session? Did I say study session? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say that we did have our first in-service in City Hall on the 16th. I don't want to go into huge details, but we had to clean up this room because we met in here and got a lot of stuff done. Plus, during that time, we got some new computers, and they're still installing those. And then lastly, I didn't want to steal Melanie's thunder, but I believe in the next few weeks we have fire station walls coming. They're being built in Mount Pleasant, and they would be trucked in. I've never actually seen that done before, and I've seen a lot of things, so I'm kind of excited about it. And there might actually be the city administrators from Southeast Iowa. Some of them have an interest in our fire station, how it's being constructed, because the one particular in Fort Madison, they're getting ready to construct a fire station as well. I think they're bidding theirs out and getting it designed, but they wanted to see what we were doing there. So I will invite them up and see what they think. I say for questions.
Exciting news. Any questions for the city administrator? Okay, hearing none. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So
Moved by Esty.
Second.
Second by Kness. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.